here at halftime.
It's a picture-perfect day in Maryland's state capital for college football. It's a homecoming Saturday as the Navy midshipmen fans and alumni out in full force today to support their mids of all sizes, while the Rutgers fans have made the trip down from New Jersey to support their undefeated Scarlet Knights. In 2004, controversy became fuel for this rivalry.
Should set the tone for what will be a very exciting football game.
And the game was over by halftime. In 2005, Rutgers would get its revenge.
And this place is ready to erupt. What a sea of red.
Today, the next chapter will be written by two of the nation's best ground attacks. It's unbeaten Rutgers, 5-1 Navy, on CSTV next. It is a Saturday afternoon in mid-October. It is an exciting time of year here in Annapolis as the Navy midshipmen at 5-1 welcome in the unbeaten Scarlet Knights of Rutgers here on this Saturday afternoon for college football on CSTV. And welcome inside Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium along with Trev Alberts. I'm Pete Medhurst. Marquee say it all today. Trev, usually you have to build up a game in mid-October sometimes to sell it. Today, all you have to do is look at the marquee. Two terrific football programs, both looking to become bowl eligible with a win here today.
Yeah, Pete, looking to become bowl eligible, and quite frankly, I don't think either of these teams really like the other one all that much. There's a little bit of a history there, and it's kind of interesting. You know, we talk about Navy, we talk about the triple option or the spread, whatever you want to call it, their ability to run the football. They're number one in college football. They average 350 yards on the ground. But the key to this game today, I think, for Navy, forget about the offense, it's their defense and their improved play, and really it's their linebackers. It's two senior guys playing so well. Rob Caldwell there, big number 57, has 53 tackles, a forced fumble there. He's all over the field. And David Mahoney, you gotta love this kid. The energy that he plays with. The first play of the game right there against Air Force, he gets a sack, has 3 in that game, and then will drop back in coverage. He's all over the field. That's the story in this game. Can Navy slow down a pretty potent Rutgers running game itself? Rutgers averages over 200 yards rushing as a team.
And coming into the season, and rightfully so, a lot of the Rutgers headlines on Brian Leonard, but he has now teamed up with Ray Rice to form one of the best combos in college football.
Well, that's sort of that challenge for that Navy defense we talked about. I mean, you just have to look at the numbers here. Brian Leonard was the guy, had a terrific year last year, playing awfully well again this year in a little bit different role, kind of running the ball, receiving out of the backfield like, but Ray Rice has really been the story. 806 yards rushing as a sophomore, and kind of interesting. You wonder what makes the kid special. Not a big guy, but enough power as a little guy, gets in the end zone there. But really, it's about his patience and vision, waiting for that hole to develop and then having the power to get through. And of course, Brian Leonard between the tackles, there's none better, improved his blocking. And the difference with Brian Leonard now, Pete, is he actually leads the team in receiving. Interesting ball game today. We got a great one.
And for more on these two and about Rutgers, let's throw it downstairs to Tom Hart with Greg Schiano.
Pete, thank you very much. Joined now by the head coach at Rutgers. Coach, let's talk about the fact that these running backs in this backfield is a very special tandem, but they've had to shuffle roles just a little bit. One was a Heisman candidate, one now is. How have they handled that?
They're great. I mean, they are, and they're just not the running backs. The entire football team is an unselfish group, and certainly led by Brian. Brian's one of our captains, a fifth-year senior, and a very special player.
This is a team last year that struggled running the ball against Navy, but Ryan Hart picked it up big time, 18 for 21. Can Teel do that if called for this today?
He can. He can. And we need to run the ball better than we did last year, a combination of both.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
It promises to be a good one. Somebody's going to be bowl eligible at the end of this Saturday afternoon. Who will it be, Rutgers or Navy? Come on back with us on CSTV.
Football is a way of life. Live it.
CSTV Football Nation, Rutgers versus Navy, is brought to you by Starter. Real college sports gear for real college sports fans. Believe in it, baby. And by Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Back on the grounds of the Naval Academy, there you see the superintendent's house. with the support of Navy and, of course, the tradition of the flyover. Today's football game flyover featuring Boeing F-18 Hornets Vigilante Strike Fighter Squadron 151. Based out of the Naval Air Station in Lemoore, California. Today's lead pilot of the aircraft is Bob Cady, Naval Academy class of 1989. Joined by Dave Morgan, who's a class of 93, and Ron Wiley, the class of 1997. There you see head coach Paul Johnson. His counterpart, Greg Schiano. Two guys who've done one of the best reclamation projects in all of college football. The kickoff by Matt Harmon is going to land in the end zone, and Rutgers will down it right there. And they will go on offense here with a 1st and 10 starting at their own 20-yard line. There you see the starting quarterback for the Scarlet Knights, Mike Teel, sophomore, 6'4", 220-pounder, who has got his work cut out for him today. Going to have to make some plays in the passing game for the Scarlet Knights if they are to be successful. But look at his record, though, 7-1 as the Rutgers starting quarterback. Twin receivers to the bottom of the screen, offset backfield behind Teel. Leonard in motion across the formation. And the give is to Rice. Rice trying to cut it back, finds an opening, gets up near the 26-yard line. It'll be a gain of 6 yards on the play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 4. Now let's take a look at the starting lineups brought to you by Starter, Sosa, Fladell, Stapleton, Stevenson, and Zuda up front for the Scarlet Knights. Skill people, Rice, Leonard, Harris, Foster, and Underwood. Second down. Just across the 25. Teel audibilizing at the line of scrimmage. Strong side is the right side of the formation. They'll run that way. Leonard going right side. Irv Spencer tries to run him down. Leonard runs through that tackle. Gets across the 30. Up near the 35. He'll have another Rutgers 1st down. Take a look at the defensive starters for Navy across the front. Adams, Silk, and Chan. Linebackers, great group here. Mahoney, Caldwell, Spencer started for Sovey today, and Tidwell. And in the secondary, McGowan, Miles, Buffin, and Little.
And Pete, I really think that a guy like John Chan, these defensive ends, Ty Adams, they're going to have to hold that edge on the outside to help those linebackers be able to get to the outside with the speed that you see from Leonard and Rice.
Teel back to throw, throwing across the 40 to the 43-yard line. Trev, we talked before the game. Clark Harris, the man who makes the catch, has a real opportunity to make some plays in the passing game today. Teel hits him right there.
Well, and Harris has been averaging 15 yards a catch, and the reason we talked about that, because of such of a focus with Brian Leonard and Ray Rice in the backfield, you realize those linebackers are getting up around the line of scrimmage, trying to shut down that run, so Clark Harris will be open in the middle of the field.
1st down, just short of the 43-yard, or 2nd down rather, just short of the 43. Leonard, stutter step motion across the face of Rice. Gives it to Rice, runs to a Mahoney tackle. Into the open field outside. He will have another 1st down as he is stopped at the 48-yard line.
I think that's the interesting thing about Ray Rice. You mentioned right there, as you see in the replay right here, when they give the ball to Ray Rice, he gets to the outside, and Mahoney comes up, actually has a chance at making the tackle, but Ray Rice, although he's not a big guy, he's 5'9", only 195 pounds, but has the balance, the speed, the vision. But the most important thing, as we mentioned about Ray Rice, is the patience. He waits for the offensive line to get that crease open, and then he has the explosiveness to get through it.
Leonard, who's a very dangerous pass catcher, comes out here as he motioned into a screen. Across the 50, brought down by Caldwell, but not before he gets to the Navy 45-yard line. It'll bring up 2nd down and 3.
Sometimes when you're a wide receiver, just like at the Naval Academy, if you're at Rutgers, you're going to have to block. And here on the outside, Dennis Campbell, number 5, does a nice job of springing Brian Leonard, and he gets to the outside. We talked about the changing roles, how Leonard hasn't carried the ball as much, but he's actually the leading receiver on the team. He's actually been very involved in this offense.
That is his 20th catch of the season. The next nearest guy is the freshman Campbell with just 11. 2nd down from the 45-yard line. Again, it's Leonard, the most active man on the field. He's in motion, pitches to Rice, coming right side, and he is met in the backfield. It's David Mahoney wrapping him up this time, making the stop.
I think, Pete, as we watch this game progress, and Guys like Jeremy Miles, number 5, do a good job of getting penetration. I think that's the one thing that this Navy defense is going to have to do. When you have a guy like Ray Rice, you do have to take some chances. Buddy Green, the defensive coordinator, feeling like early here, let's get our safeties around the line of scrimmage. At some point, we have to get in the backfield and change Ray Rice's direction, whether he wants to or not.
And when Navy does that, Teel will have to make plays in the passing game. Here comes Teel out of the shotgun on 3rd down. Looking out in the flat, has a man right at the marker, but it's dropped. On the far side of the football field, the freshman Campbell drops it right in front of the 1st down marker.
And we're talking with Greg Schiano about his team, and obviously no questions about his running game, no questions about his offensive line. He thinks they're a special group, but the wide receivers are so young, and fans across college football, maybe Rutgers fans, feel like Mike Teel hasn't played up to par. I think it's a perfect example where Mike Teel makes the correct call, throws the ball where it needs to be. Wide receivers simply haven't made plays every time. The youth at wide receiver for Rutgers is a real concern for the Rutgers coaches.
Nation's leading punter, Joe Radigan, is on, averaging a whopping 47.1 per boot. Trying to pooch it here. High, turns over for him. Jason Tomlinson lets it bounce, and Rutgers is all over it. Was he standing on the line or no? Let's watch the signal. Nope, they're going to down it at the 1-yard line. The back that got down there, Trev, for Rutgers, nearly was standing on the line. But Navy will have it inside their own 1-yard line when we come back. Navy and Rutgers scoreless on CSTV. Back in Annapolis, there you see the VW making its round at CSTV football games this season. Still a couple of more stops along the way. Little guitar action, little string music here as Navy stops Rutgers on its first drive, but James Townsend downs the punt inside the 1. Pressure for the Navy offense now in the shadow of their own goal line on 1st down. Ryan Hampton barking out the signals. Ballard the single setback. Hampton on the option, follows the fullback right up the middle. Gains a couple up to the 3. Let's go back and take a look at the punt here, Trev. James Townsend hustling downfield, and watch his feet and watch how close they are to the line. Great presence of mind here.
Good job of, and that's how you're coached. When you're Greg Schiano, you teach your team, turn around, see your heels, make sure you're not on that line. And Greg Schiano knows, look, if I get my guy, turn him around, he makes sure that he's between the ball and the end zone. And don't forget something else. This is that field turf stuff. When field turf, the ball just dies.
Right.
And that helps punters out a lot.
Those little rubber pilings that act as dirt. Here's the quick pitch. Campbell, runner left side. Campbell cuts the corner, gets up near the 10-yard line. He should be just short of the 1st down. It'll bring up 3rd and very short for Navy.
And I think here's the guy, Pete, that Navy and Paul Johnson have got to feel like they've got to continue to feed the football to. I mean, Reggie Campbell is that guy who can get outside with his speed. Look at number 26, Sean White, right there. Talk about wide receivers making plays. Navy, you're not necessarily going to catch a lot of balls. You're not necessarily going to get a lot of carries. If you're Sean White, take a lot of pride in making blocks to spring guys like Reggie Campbell.
Because Campbell will do the same for him, too, when he is carrying the ball. Here comes Campbell in motion. Hampton on the option, dives forward. He'll have the 1st down. There you see the Navy quarterback, Brian Hampton, on the season. Obviously, Trev, much more adept rushing the football.
Yeah, obviously that's the offense that they run, but, you know, talking with Paul Johnson, I think he really feels like Brian Hampton has really made progress here lately in the passing game. I think they feel like if Rutgers is going to simply come out and put 8 and 9 guys in the box, they have to feel like Brian. We know what he can do. We know he can run the option, make the correct reads, but I think that Coach Johnson really feels like the last 2 games, Brian Hampton has really come on in terms of his fieldsmanship, understanding what he wants to do, and the whole team itself, the last 2 games at UConn and at Air Force, both games on the road, feeling like they're finally putting it together offensively.
There you see Hampton in the huddle, brings the mids to the line of scrimmage. They measured for the 1st down. Looked like he got a questionable spot, but still enough to get the 1st down. Here's Hampton on the option, cuts it up inside, knocked down at the 16-yard line. Gain of 5, 2nd down and 5. Let's take a look at the starting lineups brought to you by Starter for the Midshipmen. Up front, Pritchett, Gallion, Rossi, Harper, and Meek. Skill people, Ballard, Singleton, Campbell, Washington, and Tomlinson. 5 guys out of the state of Texas on that Navy starting offense.
And here's a young man I think that's got to have a huge game. Adam Ballard, 574 yards, had a huge game last week, and I think he's a real key.
Hampton on the pitch to Campbell, and Rutgers diagnosing that one perfectly. Flying up from his strong safety spot, Ron Geralt, the junior, 5'11", 195-pounder, closed very, very quickly. Let's take a look at the starting lineups brought to you by Starter for Rutgers: Beckford, Meekins, Foster, and Westerman. In the middle, Rencart, Thompson, and Frierson. And in the secondary, Roberson, Geralt, who we just talked about, Green, who was a high school teammate of Ray Rice, and McCourty.
And there's Ron Geralt right there, and talking to Schiano, he really feels like his defense has been built from the inside out.
Hampton pump fakes, fumbles the football, and it's picked up by Beckford. It bounces in the air. The scramble is on in the end zone. Wait for the referee's signal. If Rutgers never possessed, this ends up being a safety if Navy gets it, or a touchdown if Rutgers gets it. The question is, did Beckford have possession of the ball, the one guy who looked like he was close to having possession for Rutgers? Navy has the football. Zurban Singleton made the recovery. The question is whether it's a safety touchback. Referees getting together to discuss.
And you can see right here, you can just see as he goes back to pass, that immediate pressure from the inside. You mentioned William Beckford in there.
During the play, Navy fumbled. Rutgers recovered. Then Navy recovered in the end zone. It's a touchback. The ball be placed at the 20-yard line, 1st and 10.
So a huge break here for Navy, Trev, as Frierson made the hit on Hampton, but because Rutgers possessed, Beckford possessed the ball right there, it ends up being a touchback for the Mids.
And look at the effort by Navy to come back, and it's the big shot. You get another fumble, and it's about the best case scenario Navy could ever have. Remember, they started inside their own 1, so a negative play turns out to be real positive for the midshipmen.
Paul Johnson looking on, arms folded, perhaps a deep breath, and somewhere in there a scowl of frustration. But his team ends up getting a first down. Ball at the 20-yard line. Hampton puts Campbell in motion. Pitches to Campbell, left side, gets a great block from one of his wide receivers, gains 4. It'll bring up 2nd down and 6. Jason Tomlinson leading the way.
Let's go back and look at that fumble one more time, Pete. And obviously, as Brian Hampton goes back to pass, the ball is picked up but not put away, and a terrific hit by Navy. So the ball is bouncing around. It's into the end zone. And somewhere underneath that scrub, somehow, some way, Navy comes up with the football. They find themselves 1st and 10 at the 20 and a 4-yard gain, now 2nd and manageable.
Jason Tomlinson made the hit, and Zurban Singleton the recovery for the midshipmen. Campbell in motion. Hampton, quick pitch that way. Campbell trying to find a seam, and Geralt comes up and puts the Rydell on him once again. Also, Gary Watts with a terrific run down the line of scrimmage. The sophomore, number 92, in on the stop for Rutgers, and he is down on the sideline as he was hanging on while Geralt came over with a big part of that collision.
I was talking earlier about how Coach Schiano feels like his defense has been built from the inside out. Ramel Meekins, Eric Foster, Devron Thompson, Quintero Frierson, and then you mentioned the safety, Ron Geralt and Courtney Green. It's sort of in the middle. It's those 2 big defensive tackles, it's the 2 linebackers, and then the 2 safeties. And obviously playing against a team like Navy, it's nice to have a defense that's built that way.
Take a look at the replay here. You can see he's got him wrapped up, and Geralt comes in here. And there's also another guy laying on the ground right there. And Watts gets some contact right there.
Courtney Green was at the bottom of that pile. I think the one thing you notice, we know how hard Navy plays. This Rutgers defense, although small, they fly around and make plays.
Closing speed on defense has been great. Hampton on 3rd and 4. Pitches right side, Campbell trying to get around the corner. He'll get just across the 30, and he should have enough for the first down. Today's 1st and 10 line brought to you by Geico.
That's the thing that gets frustrating, Pete, if you're a defensive player. And Coach Schiano was honest about it when we talked to him. You know, I don't know that they love to play the Naval Academy. When you play a team that runs an option type team, it's a bruising type of a game. You have to be so disciplined. And he talked about, you know, the key to winning is being disciplined. It's hard to beat them at their game because discipline is Navy's game. That's what they do each week.
Critical thing because they had a bye week last week to prepare. Hampton with a long count. Play action. looking, doesn't have anybody, and the pocket collapses. Devron Thompson getting in there. It'll be a loss of yardage on the play. Bring up 2nd and 12. Let's throw it downstairs. The third member of our hard-working team today, Tom Hart.
Guys, I found some friends down on the sidelines. I'm with the mids, and obviously a great home field advantage for Navy. However, Rutgers is doing its best to bring their crowd down from New Jersey. 3.5-hour drive from campus. They've sold all of their tickets, all 3,000, and they brought the whole entire football team. Now, you can't dress everybody, but the guys are here in uniform, although they're not in pads. So some great support for the Scarlet Knights.
Thanks, Tom. 2nd down and 12 coming up from the 28. Reverse pivot on the option. Hampton coming right side. Stutter steps past one man, gets up near the 34-yard line. It'll bring up a 3rd down and about 6. And Hampton, I believe, is hurt on the play. He is holding his left knee. As the Navy training staff hustles out to take a look at the Navy starting quarterback, a hush comes over Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. We'll take a break. No score. 5:41 to go in the first quarter here in Annapolis on CSTV.
Before I started college courses, I charted these courses.
We are back in Annapolis as the medical staff from the Naval Academy still out on the field working on starting quarterback Brian Hampton, who went down after the end of that run, and certainly with a pretty significant injury, as you can tell by the fact that they're already getting medical attention from an ambulance, where they're going to set the ambulance up in the tunnel to the far end of the stadium. You see Dr. Jeff Fair, the gentleman with the white towel around his neck, the head of the Navy medical staff, working on him down on the ground. And there you see Kaipanoa Keaku Inhata, who will be coming into the ball game for the mids as the quarterback. Now, we're going to give you one look at the injury. I want to remind you that if you're pretty squeamish, you may not want to look at this, as this is a pretty significant injury here to the leg of Brian Hampton. Let's take a look at the replay.
Just your standard option play as Hampton does a reverse pivot. He just runs option to the right, gets a nice block on the inside, sees a hole and cuts back, and obviously the left leg is what's injured. It's so disappointing for Brian Hampton, who really, Pete, I think as we've watched this season progress, we obviously did the game here against Tulsa and going on the road the last 2 weeks and talking to the coaches and even Brian himself, you could sort of sense that they really felt that Brian had fully grasped. He understood the offense at a different level, and that Coach Johnson really trusted him in terms of all the checks. They started opening up the offense a little bit more. They threw the football down the field a little more, and just a bad way for Brian Hampton to have to leave this game. It's a terrific game. Rutgers is nationally ranked. It's at home. It's homecoming. His teammates obviously concerned about their starting quarterback. He was such a terrific leader, and so his leadership is going to have to change now. Now, as an injured player, he can still be a leader and still be helpful, but right now his teammates and all these fans here obviously concerned about the health of Brian Hampton.
Yeah, and the super kid, I mean, we've had a chance to talk to him, and just a wonderful young man, comes from an Air Force family, you know, a senior. Waited his time for his turn to come to get his part of the offense, and obviously in his 7th game of the season, he is going off hurt, and the crowd now, the mids, his classmates, his brothers, now chanting his name.
Brian Hampton! Brian Hampton! Brian Hampton! Brian Hampton! Brian Hampton!
You know, there's something, Pete, too, that as a player, and every coach in America, whether it be Paul Johnson, Greg Schiano, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, they always teach you as players to control what you could control. And the thing that, you know, I've been hurt, I've gotten hurt. The things that's so frustrating as a player when you get hurt is that's the one thing you can't control. You can control your preparation. You can control all the things surrounding this game, playing Rutgers, the emotional part of it, the physical part of it, the mental part of it. But you can't control whether or not you're going to be hauled off right here on a gator with an injured leg. But obviously Brian Hampton with a hand up, encouraging these fans and this crowd that he's going to be okay.
So the Navy quarterback goes off the field on the back of a cart, certainly to get quick medical attention on that left leg. And as we mentioned, that brings in Kaipanoa Keaku Inhata in at quarterback. Super K, as he's known here in Annapolis. A young man with great potential, has had some snaps, and today now the pressure of this ball game falls on his shoulders. Third down, and Hada back to throw. Shovel pass, looking for Campbell, and that's an incomplete pass because it's a shovel going forward. So it'll bring up a fourth down. And Trev, the big thing now is, as you mentioned, with Hampton, a senior quarterback, an older guy, a guy that's able to pick up and lead, but now you turn to a sophomore who has to assume a leadership position in a hurry.
And I think the interesting thing as we watch as this game progresses is what sort of confidence does Coach Johnson have in Hada? Obviously, they're a little shovel pass, a simple little play that should be easy to complete. But as this game progresses, does he open up the offense? Does he call all the same plays that he had with Brian Hampton at quarterback?
Greg Vitello with a nice kick. Turns over Willie Foster from his 17. Eludes Campbell, the first man down. Tries to reverse his field and come back to the near side. And he is brought down by Jeff DeLees just over the 30-yard line. It'll be a first down for the Scarlet Knights when we come back. No score in the first quarter on CSTV.
Score between the midshipmen and the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Tom Hart down on the field with three-time Super Bowl champion coach Bill Belichick. Grew up just around the corner from your coach. First and foremost, you've dealt with injured quarterbacks before, Bledsoe to Brady. What can you do during the game to make sure you can stick to your game plan when you lose a starter like that?
Well, I'm sure that Coach Johnson has his other quarterbacks prepared to run the offense, and that's what you do. You put the next player in. It's just like any other position. It's hard, but that's what you do.
You're here for football reasons, but literary football reasons as well. Can you tell our fans about the great collection that you're presenting to the Naval Academy tomorrow?
Well, my dad collected football books for over 50 years, and about 25 years ago I started collecting them myself, and to add to his collection, and then I ended up starting my own. So we're going to combine our collections and give them to the Naval Academy tomorrow, and there's no place we'd rather have them on display as the United States Naval Academy.
Your father, a longtime assistant coach here, you being an Annapolis native, and you got to be down on the field with some of the greats. Catching passes from Roger Staubach on the sideline as just a young kid.
It was a lot of fun. There were some great teams here, top 10, top 20 teams. Joe Bellino, Roger Staubach, Pat Donnelly, Tom Lynch, some great players here, great leaders, and it was a tremendous experience as a kid to be able to grow up in that environment.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pete?
All right, Tom, thank you. Clark Harris makes his second grab of the ball game, and it moves the chains for Rutgers, gives them a first down at the 46-yard line.
Pete, you're starting to see a little bit what Rutgers is going to do offensively. They spread the field on this Navy defense, and they get the matchup they want. They get Clark Harris lined up against Rob Caldwell. Rob's a terrific player, but in space, trying to cover a tight end like Clark Harris, a very difficult matchup.
NFL size at 6'6" and 260. Teel on the screen, and it's incomplete as he zips the ball out here in the flat to Tiquan Underwood. Brings up second down at 10.
I was really interested, Pete, coming into this game. I had read a lot about Rutgers. Obviously, we knew about Ray Rice. We knew about Brian Leonard, but didn't know a lot about Mike Teel. His numbers weren't great. And I looked, he's 6'4", he's 220, and I think after talking with Coach Schiano, you're seeing this offense. He's going to be a different quarterback at the end of the season than he was at the beginning of the season. These young wide receivers, you saw in that last play, Tiquan Underwood, he was open, the ball was there, he simply, the timing, whatever it was, they didn't complete the pass. I think that Mike Teel has a lot of talent at quarterback.
Delay, right side Rice. Spencer on the first hit for Navy gets about 3. It'll bring up third down and 7 yards to go. Herb Spencer getting the starting nod today at the inside linebacker. Navy using Spencer because this is more of a straight-ahead running team here, and Spencer a little bit bigger guy, and that time has the contact with Rice and makes a strong tackle.
Well, 6', 241, simple ISO play, and Herb Spencer meets Brian Leonard in the backfield and does a great job of shedding the block, not only taking on the block of the fullback, but then making the play. A terrific tackle by Herb Spencer.
Trips to the near side. Leonard the single setback. Teel out of the gun. Teel looking left side, has a man wide open, but the momentum of the catch is going to bring his man back out of bounds, short of the first down as he threw it out here on the near side for James Townsend. And that goes back to the play, like you said before, Trev, timing a key. If Teel gets that ball out there on time, Townsend has an easy first down.
It's a well-designed play. I mean, here's Teel as he goes back, and the ball maybe just a little bit out, but Townsend makes the catch, but you mentioned it, now 4th and short. Rather than getting his route past the first down marker, Rutgers has to punt.
And they will punt it. Looking toward the near sideline. Radigan going to get it out of bounds. The nation's leading punter at 47.1 per ball game. Certainly going to see him kicking for cash at some point in his career. It'll be spotted on the 14-yard line. So after running one play earlier, Kaipanoa Kehaku in Hana will come back on for his first full possession for the Naval Academy. He, as we said, he's had some snaps earlier in the season, and now leadership falls on his shoulders.
Pete, can we just take a step back now after that emotional play where Brian Hampton has to go out of the game? The Navy team back on their heels. The defense comes on the field and gets a 3-and-out, or shuts down this Rutgers offense and forces a punt. I thought that was very important for that Navy defense.
Here's Ballard on the first down carry, just short of the 19-yard line. Big gain of close to 5. And a running back by committee, so to speak, in terms of toting the football, Trev, but it all starts with the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback is a general of the offense, and he touches the ball every play, and it's all about him making the proper reads. As Coach Johnson said, if the quarterback makes the proper reads, it can't be stopped. Now, it can look awful funny if the quarterback makes an incorrect read and hands off or pitches when he shouldn't have done it.
2nd and 5 in Hana on the reverse pivot, cuts it upfield, dives forward. He's going to be very close to a first down, probably going to be about a yard short. It'll bring up 3rd down and 1 yard to go.
And what you do, Pete, is if you're a part of a game where one of the starters or the stars on your team goes down with an injury, it's incumbent upon the rest of the team to step up and raise their level of play. And I think that's the interesting thing as you watch this Navy team now here in the first half. Guys like Reggie Campbell, Sean White, obviously Adam Ballard, those other veteran leaders need to step up and take some pressure off of Inhadu.
Maybe half of their 3rd down so far. And Hana wiped out at the point of attack. And he's going to lose yardage on the play. Crashing down the line of scrimmage, Beckford, but also getting good penetration that time up the middle for Rutgers. Big number 90, Jamal Westerman, wipes out this play at the snap.
What you do is you take your 2 defensive ends and you try to force the quarterback, an inexperienced quarterback, to make an early and quick decision. If I'm Greg Schiano, the defensive coordinator, that's my game plan the entire time. I want to force Inhada to make a decision immediately. A young quarterback not in that position often, facing that kind of pressure immediately, very difficult for the young quarterback.
Montero with a high kick. Foster with the fair catch at the 38-yard line. Folks, coming up next to help you keep track of everything that's going on in Football Nation and beyond, CSTV brings you Game Tracker Live. If there's a score you need, an amazing moment you missed, or a story you want to hear, you'll find it on Game Tracker Live, your one-step destination for all things college sports. Line of scrimmage will be the 39-yard line for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Their defensive unit playing well so far, getting the football back again for their offense. Just over a minute to go here in this first quarter from Annapolis, Maryland. Clark Harris comes from top to bottom. Strong side left of the formation now for the Scarlet Knights. Rice in motion. Long count, hand to Leonard. Up the middle, Tidwell on the stop for the midshipmen. A gain of 4 brings up 2nd and 6.
You know, Pete, I can see what Rutgers and Craig Versteeg is trying to do, their offensive coordinator. They line both running backs. They're trying to get Navy to get 7 and 8 guys out of the box. They don't want all those guys bunched in the middle. Obviously, they want to run. So that time, you take Ray Rice and you get him outside. It forces one of the linebackers to go out to match up. And the idea is that way you should be able to run. So far, Navy's front 3 and their 2 linebackers doing a great job of shutting down the run all by themselves.
Talking about an improved Big East. You saw the numbers there offensively. Just good for 6th in the Big East so far. Rice off the left side. We'll see if they whistle the football out. Linesman says yes. He points in the opposite direction. It'll be Navy ball as Keetrick Buffin comes out of the bottom of the pile with the football. The officials huddling, and now the Big East crew says first down. So Ray Rice turns it over here for Rutgers. Navy will have it. We come back on CSTV. Back in Annapolis, the Navy defense, you see Keetrick Buffin right there. Trev, he the man who came up with the big turnover here for the Gold Helmets.
You're going to see big number 72, Mike Fladell, and Ray Rice gets right in the hip pocket, and right there, if you missed it, right there is where the ball came out. It was kind of odd. The ball's just laying on the ground. You mentioned it, comes up, gets the recovery, and a huge turnover for Navy.
And with Navy's second-string quarterback in, they couldn't ask for better field position right here. They'll start at the Rutgers 46. First and 10. Campbell in motion. In Hottie. Gives it to Ballard. Big fullback plowing up the middle. And he'll take it down near the 42. Gain of 4. Second down and 6 coming up for the midshipmen.
I think you can see already, Pete, what Coach Johnson is intending to do. We saw that last play in the last series, how those defensive linemen and those defensive ends came crashing down and made him make a quick decision. But right here, you can see this Rutgers defense, how hard they play, all 11 guys to the ball. Shiano told us yesterday, he said, look, it's very simple. If you don't get to the football, you will not play on my defense.
Second down at 6. Campbell in motion. In Hottie. Coming to the option near side. Cuts it back up. Tries to run out of one tackle, but he is stood up. Eric Foster puts the shoulder pad into him at the 40. It'll bring up a 3rd down and 4. And a Rutgers defense, again, Trev, at some points they're undersized, but man, do they fly to the football.
You can just see their numbers here. They're 3rd in all of college football in yards a game. Great against the rush. They're 11th against the rush and tied for 3rd. This is the most important. Everybody talks about statistics. You can give up 500 yards a game if you want, if you hold them to 10 points a game.
That's right.
That's the key. So they're doing a great job of not only shutting down in terms of total yards, but also points. Only 10 points a game.
13:41 to go here in the second quarter. In Hottie, reverse pivot on the option. He is crushed as Westerman comes down and punishes him right at the 41-yard line. It's going to be a loss of 1 on the play.
And what Rutgers has decided to do is these defensive ends, there's no slow playing the option with them. What they're doing is they're crashing down immediately, forcing the quarterbacks to get rid of the football. And sometimes pitching the football, it's a little bit of confidence involved in that. When you have a young quarterback, sometimes you're out there in space trying to get that pitch off. Again, I think these Rutgers defensive coaches would like to see Inhadu have to pitch the football and hope that he can turn the ball over.
Lateto's punt gets up into the wind and then takes a bounce backwards as it takes a big Rutgers bounce back near the 28-yard line. Rutgers will have it when we come back. Scoreless tie, CSTV.
Spell the word bus Taurus.
Back in Annapolis, there are an awful lot of folks here today on this Saturday afternoon. Sun-splashed indeed, and Trev, a new all-time attendance record here at the Naval Academy, 36,918 people.
You know, Pete, you couldn't have a better day. It's just a Chamber of Commerce day here in Annapolis. A little bit of wind, as we saw in that punt, but here in the middle of October couldn't be any better for football.
On first down for the Scarlet Knights, Teel, play action, looking, has a man crossing. Ball's knocked down by John Chan at the line of scrimmage. They're going to wave it off incomplete. The referee was running backwards, but Trev, you mentioned earlier, John Chan had to be a guy out front, had to be active and do things. He does it right there.
John Chan, 32 tackles coming in and 4 sacks, but really Rob Caldwell, they bring the linebacker on the blitz that time. Caldwell's going to come up there, and he's actually going to get in. Wide receivers are open. There he is, gets the hit right there on Teel. The offensive line had plenty of time, and Teel stood there in the pocket. We see the offense. Here's a wide receiver saying, "Where am I?" And Rob Caldwell continues on, doesn't quit on the play, and gets a nice hit on Mike Teel.
The play is under review. I guess they're going to see whether Teel was actually throwing the ball or if it just came out of his hand. That could really be the only thing that is up for discussion right here. Take a look at the play here as Mike Outhouse gives our Big East referee, Gerard McGinn, the headset.
See, Teel's just standing there, and the question is, see, the ball bounced off somebody's helmet, or maybe even bounced off Rob Caldwell himself, so it looked odd that the ball went backwards, but I think that Teel's arm was going forward. You see him here, he's standing in the pocket, he begins to throw, and as he throws, it bounces off the helmet of the Navy defender, goes backwards, and I think that's what the confusion that the officials had, thinking that maybe it was a fumble, but I think clearly it looked to me at least that Mike Teel was going forward with the ball.
Yeah, because Caldwell obviously made great contact with him. He jarred him there, but the question was, as you could see, his arm coming forward, and it wasn't the jar, the hit that just took the ball out of his hands.
To go back to, Pete, we don't want to miss this point. The offensive line of Rutgers is a terrific unit. Shiano talks about them as a potentially special unit. They do a nice job. Mike Teel is continuing to progress at the quarterback position. But as you see him here, the offensive line gives him plenty of time. He has plenty of time to go through his reads.
The call on the field. It was a forward pass, ruled incomplete. Second down.
So Gerard McGinn says incomplete.
Yeah, the ball ends up bouncing off the head of John Chan is what made the confusion. But going back to that point, the point is there were wide receivers open. This passing offense just isn't in sync yet. Wide receivers maybe not running the right route. Mike Teel not knowing exactly where to go with the football. For them to get where they need to be, no questions about the running. I think the offense in terms of the passing game has to get more in sync.
And Kenny Britt was 15 yards on a crossing route running with nobody near him. 2nd down and 10 as a result. Rutgers shifts the formation here. Teel under the line, or at the line of scrimmage rather, under center. Puts Leonard in motion. Gives to Rice. Rice cutting it back. Runs through a tackle. And hangs onto the football and gets up to the 40-yard line. He will have a 1st down. Tough running there by the sophomore 5'9", 195-pounder, Trev.
You know, Schiano talks about having a natural understanding to stay with the play. And as you see Rice this time, and that offensive line goes to the left, a nice big hole that time. But again, staying with the play, the balance, the speed, and the vision. You talk about the vision to cut back. A lot of backs can cut through that hole, but again, the power at only 5'8" to keep the legs churning and get a nice gain for Rutgers.
It's another 1st down, our 1st and 10 line for today's game, brought to you by the good folks at Geico. Teel on 1st down, looking to throw, has a man right down the seam, wide open, down inside Navy territory, down near the 25-yard line, and there he is again, the tight end, Clark Harris, with his 3rd catch of the day.
And Rob Caldwell is coming off the field right now with an injury, and that's such a difficult matchup for a linebacker. You have this Rutgers team that time and time again pounds you, and then all of a sudden as a linebacker you read that and you have to get back. You see Caldwell here, tries to get back to the middle of the field, and Clark Harris is running down at the last minute. A Navy defender flies in and hits Rob Caldwell at the knees.
A gain of 34 on the play, and it looked like Keetrick Buffin, you're right, Trev, submarined him on the tackle as he tried to go low on the 6'6" Harris. Rutgers in business now. Rice kicks it outside, finds a hole, jitter steps outside again, gets inside the 20, down to the 18-yard line before he's hit by Joe Silk for the midshipman along with Irv Spencer. It'll bring up 2nd down and short as Caldwell gets medical attention.
And I think that's a real key, obviously. You're talking about this Navy team, and you've suddenly taken both of the quality leaders off their team. Offensively, Brian Hampton's out with an injury, and now if Rob Caldwell, their senior, a guy with 53 tackles coming into this game, if he can't get back on the field, a very difficult time for this Navy defense.
Caldwell getting attention as Rutgers comes to the line of scrimmage. 2nd and 2 from the 18-yard line in a scoreless tie. Campbell in motion across the formation to the top of the screen. Teel out of the gun. The hand to Rice, running left side. Hit at the line of scrimmage, but able to fall forward. He's going to be very close to the Geico 1st down line here, and we'll see what the referees say.
Something to point out, remember this game last year, Navy's defense did a really nice job against this running game of Rutgers. Didn't mean they didn't stop them completely. I think Rice had about 80 yards. The difference was Ryan Hart at quarterback was 18 of 21 for 221 yards. And you see in the red zone today, look at this, 20 of 27 for almost 75% in the red zone. That's almost unheard of. Terrific job of this Rutgers offense.
And on the 3rd down and short, Teel forward, and he will have the 1st down. They'll mark it just short of the 15-yard line, so Rutgers will keep this drive alive. Last year, Rice ran for 83 and Leonard 59 in the 31-21 win over Navy.
That big offensive line of Rutgers. Mike Fladell, 6'8", 332. Darnell Stapleton at 285, and Cameron Stevenson at 305. I mean, obviously, every game that Navy plays, they're probably going to be smaller. The average 250, Rutgers averaging nearly 300 pounds in the trenches.
We'll talk about 72 Fladell in a moment here. Teel under pressure, and he's going to be sacked on the play. And the man who seems to always rise to the occasion when Navy needs it most defensively, David Mahoney.
We talked about him at the Open, Pete, and the guy who you make such a difference when you make plays like that. Football is all about momentum. Turnovers are huge, but also plays like this. David Mahoney just gets up the field unblocked that time. Maybe a breakdown in protection from Rutgers, but does a good job of getting up the field. He had 3 sacks against Air Force last week. The team as a whole had 5, and so a huge play defensively there for David Mahoney.
He certainly made life miserable for Air Force quarterback Sean Carney a week ago in a game you saw right here on CSTV. as Navy took the first step toward defending the CIC. Teel out of the gun, second and long, throws high, great catch by Underwood on the sideline. He's knocked out of bounds by Buffett inside the 10, down at the 7.
Greg Schiano talked to us about his wide receivers. He said, Trev, I'm telling you, one of these weeks, the light's going to go on and everything's going to fall in place, because guys like Tiquan Underwood and James Townsend and Kenny Britt, Timmy Brown, all these young wide receivers, look at this. He's got a lot of athletic ability to simply go up and make that catch, and the question here is, did he get a foot inbounds?
He stepped out of bounds. I think he catches it inbounds, but then that first step right there, he's going to be out of bounds somewhere up near the 16-yard line.
And so what we've seen from these Rutgers wide receivers is not understanding necessarily where the first down marker was. So the play's under review about actually did he catch it and where he went out of bounds. But the point is this, there's so much athletic ability at wide receiver for Rutgers, but they're still learning the game. And Coach Schiano was telling us yesterday, he said, you know how you're supposed to run like a 12-yard out? He said that they're so excited that they run 10 and then they go out. Like, right. They don't run the full route. And so as these young players continue to develop, they'll understand things about footwork and how to stay in bounds. Obviously, that time, Tiquan Underwood steps out of bounds at about the 12.
You know, the ironic thing, too, is, Travis, we keep mentioning about Teel's development. You've got young wide receivers, but then maybe it comes back to no surprise as Teel maybe looks to check off to that safety valve more often. That's probably why Brian Leonard is the leading receiver for this team right now.
Well, Brian Leonard is the leading receiver, but also Clark Harris. We've seen him make a huge impact in this game already, and he catches the ball, comes down, it's a completed pass, and then right here, after he comes down, he then steps out of bounds.
17-yard line should be the spot when Rutgers comes back for its third down play. That's great camera work right there, gentlemen. Tiquan Underwood, though, going up to get it. But you mentioned the youth at the wide receiver spot. I mean, Willie Foster, really the only experienced guy, the senior at that position for him. Underwood, a sophomore. Townsend is a junior. Britt, who was running free earlier, just a freshman. So they've got some great potential in this offense. Lots of young people for Rutgers.
And they lost Sean Tucker, a senior wide receiver who caught 6 balls for him in 88 yards.
There's indisputable video evidence that there was a reception. The receiver went out on the 17-yard line. It'll be third down. The clock should read 9:23. 9:23 on the clock.
So as we suspected, the 17-yard line will be the spot, so a good challenge by Navy in that situation. Trev, the word in on Brian Hampton's knee, and perhaps based on the way it looked, this is better news. A dislocated knee is the early diagnosis for Brian Hampton. It certainly looked a lot worse when we saw him roll over.
Question about a dislocated knee. When you dislocate your knee, there are an awful lot of ligaments around that knee. And you wonder how many of those were involved in that, because obviously there wasn't a lot holding that knee together as he fell over.
Right, and of course you can't really do any kind of quality MRI on that until the swelling and those things go down. Real quick, let's throw it downstairs for more of that with Tom.
All right, thanks, Pete. Talking to Brian's family outside the locker room, you know, obviously a bittersweet weekend for him. He's a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. He's got Ozzie Smith's rookie card. They come from behind to beat the New York Mets last night, and he suffers a devastating injury this afternoon. They did not take him to the hospital. He is still here at the stadium. And guys, don't be surprised if you see him come out of the locker room to offer moral support for his team in the second half.
Third down and 12 from the 17. Teel taking his time out of the shotgun. Backs are split behind him. Rice and Leonard. Teel fakes one way, looks to screen back the other. Navy covers that across the middle. Harris, he's hit by Caldwell at the 14-yard line. It'll bring up a fourth down and likely a field goal opportunity here for the Scarlet Knights.
You know, Pete, talking to John Chan on the phone the other day, as you see the replay right here, they were really worried about the screen game. Rutgers does a nice job in the screen game. He acted like he was going to throw out to the flat to Brian Leonard, then goes back to Clark Harris. And, oh, yeah, by the way, that senior leader at linebacker, we wondered whether he was going to come back. There's Rob Caldwell making another huge defensive play for Navy.
Jeremy Ito hit a 53-yarder, his career long in their last outing against South Florida here from 30 yards. The ball is down, the kick is on the way, and the kick is good. So the Scarlet Knights get the big pass play to Harris and draw a field goal. 8:39 to go in quarter number 2. Number 24, Rutgers on the board, 3-0 on CSTV. Back in Annapolis, there you see the CSTV VW. once again making its rounds. Kids able to get out and make some signs at the table today. Some guitar entertainment. A couple more stops for that VW as the season goes along. Look for it at your next CSTV ball game. Rutgers with a 3-0 lead. You see more naval aircraft up in the air in an area where aircraft is ominently present with Andrews Air Force Base nearby. 10 plays, 59 yards, 418. Ito the 30-yard field goal for the Rutgers points. Ito kicks off. Reggie Campbell back deep for the midshipman. And in the end zone, he will put a knee down, and it'll be 1st and 10 at the 20. Little trivia time coming up here. In 1976, Trev, Rutgers finished the season undefeated with an 11-0 record. What bowl did they attend?
It's a trick question, isn't it, Pete?
It is a bit tricky, my friend. I'll give you a hint.
I know this much. It wasn't a BCS game.
And it
Because
wasn't.
back then it was a real deal, like on New Year's Day, because I was 6 years old, and you get to watch all the great bowl games, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, all in a row. Not anymore. Wow, look at that. 32 yards of offense for this Navy offense.
Inhada on the pitch. Zerbin Singleton on the right side. He'll gain a couple. And again, Trev, the closing speed of this Rutgers defense ever impressive here. Geralt also coming up out of the secondary. Jason McCourty that time.
Remember what Paul Johnson does. He's going to continually run the football, and then he'll take a chance in the passing game. And so as a defender, Rutgers right now doing a great job of flying up there again. There's Geralt at safety. Gets a nice hit there. There's the other safety. They come up and they fill and they make tackles. At some point, you take a chance on the outside in the passing game when you get that one-on-one matchup.
Inhada, the second man through, gets stood up just short of the 25-yard line. Ron Gerald also up there again, the junior out of Spring Valley, New York. And, in the early days of Greg Schiano, Trev, there were a lot of kids that he went down and got from Florida because he needed to at the time. He just needed to get as good of players as he could. But when you start to look at this roster now, guys from the New York and New Jersey area, all of a sudden it's a fashionable thing to go to Rutgers, and those guys are the ones that are starting to step up and make plays for them. 3rd down and 6. Inhada under pressure, and he is swarmed down again. Beckford with the initial contact for the Scarlet Knights, and then wrapped up on the play by Quintero Frierson, the senior out of Coral Gables, Florida.
It's just a jailbreak on defense, and you watch this defense, the kind of speed, they just get up the field, and guys don't stay on blocks very long. Pete, you mentioned recruiting. It was interesting, Schiano told us he hired his old high school football coach to be his recruiting coordinator because he knew all the kids in New Jersey and New York, and that certainly made a difference. But, talking about recruiting, he said when he went back and took that job, people were saying, oh, great, he's going to do great in New Jersey and New York. He said, but we're not going to just take kids because they're from New Jersey. If they're not good enough to play in the Big East, they're not good enough to play at Rutgers, I'm not going to take them. I'm going to take the best kids, and then I'm going to go down to Florida. 300 guys in the state of Florida, Division 1A prospects every year. And he said, look, if we could just get a few of those guys, and you can see how long it's been, 30 years since this team has been ranked. Cost of gas was 59 cents last time I checked. It's a bit more than that.
You and I both 6 years old. We were all jumping up and down to Rocky Balboa that year. 1st down, Teel gives to Rice. Rice off the left side, hammers ahead. He'll get up near the 45-yard line. It'll be 2nd and a long 2 coming up for the Scarlet Knights. David Mahoney on the stop for the Mids.
Going back to recruiting, remember Ray Rice had committed to Syracuse. I mean, he was going, all of the kids from New Jersey and New York in that area, back when Paul Pasqualoni had it going, they would go to Syracuse first. And then when Paul Pasqualoni got fired, Ray Rice decommitted to Syracuse and went back and then committed to Rutgers. So Rutgers is the beneficiary of Paul Pasqualoni being fired at Syracuse.
Leonard off the left side. He'll be a yard short of the 1st down. Brings up 3rd down and 1 yard to go here for the Scarlet Knights. Ty Adams and Tyler Tidwell in on the stop. And there you see Greg Schiano, a guy who, like Paul Johnson for Navy, Trev, they both really had to start from just about the ground up to get these programs to where they are today in the middle of October, and both with a win today could be bowl eligible.
Yeah, he said when he first got to Rutgers, there were 56 kids on scholarship. He could not believe it. In his 2 years at Miami as the defensive coordinator, they beat Rutgers 119-6. So he said he sort of knew what he had in terms of when he went in there. The cupboard was bare, and he had to build the thing from the ground up. But thankfully, that support of the administration stayed with him. Even though he started 3-20, they believed in him. They gave him the extension. And right now, he's signed through 2012. Just recently got a 7-year contract extension.
Navy hit Ray Rice back at the 45. It would have been a loss of yardage, but now he second efforts his way up near the 47, and that will get a measurement from the officiating crew. Look at the second effort here. Navy had it diagnosed. Chan finally stands him up just before the 47-yard line.
Well, you got to like Rob Caldwell at linebacker. I mean, you see him, he's on his knees. He keeps fighting. The difficult thing is he didn't have the opportunity to actually wrap up. And you play a running back like Ray Rice, who's he's such patient in terms of the hole and yet so balanced at only 5'9" and powerful in his legs. They're going to be a little bit short, Pete.
Decision time here. Greg Schiano conferring with his staff upstairs on the headset. There you see Rob Caldwell, who went out for a couple of plays, back into the ball game. Schiano taking time. They've not started the 25-second play clock, so they've got plenty of time. And Rutgers is going to leave the offensive unit. Teel comes over, gets a play, hops over the chain. Rutgers only with 2 fourth-down opportunities on the season, and they are going to punt. Look at the respect that Schiano has for the Navy defense here. As Jason Tomlinson will drop back, and Joe Radigan, nation's #1 punter, back to do the honors. Long count. Boot is away. End over end kick. Tomlinson at the 10. Avoids the first man. 15, 20. Right side. Looking to get outside, and Geralt makes the stop on special teams after a 13-yard return here and a late flag down on the play. We'll go to break. Rutgers 3-0 CSTV. We see the Naval Academy Chapel, one of the wonderful buildings of architecture here on the campus of the Naval Academy. Bancroft Hall, of course, the hall that houses the midshipmen, 4,000 strong here at the Naval Academy in Annapolis. 3-0 ball game as we welcome you back inside Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. 4:17 to go here in the second quarter. And Hada to throw on first down has Tomlinson, and it's complete over the 27-yard line, and he'll have a Navy first down.
Pete, I love the call that time. At some point, you have the backup quarterback. Brian Hampton's injured. He can't play. You have to show confidence in your backup quarterback, and Hada goes back and just drills a perfect pass to Jason Tomlinson. Gets nice one-on-one matchup on the outside, and it was a terrific route by Jason Tomlinson.
First down and 10 yards to go, the 27 for Hada with Ballard behind him. Kaipo keeps it, runs across the 30. He'll get up near the 32-yard line. A gain of 5. And Trev, perhaps a play like that maybe lifts the entire offense to say, hey, you know, this guy can lead our offense and get something positive going for us.
I think there's probably that point of time where you say to yourself, you're still thinking about the fact that Brian Hampton's not in the game. And then at some point it dawns on you that Hada is our quarterback right now. They call the pass play. Tomlinson understands the importance of running a precise route, gets to the outside, and the ball is right there on the number for Hada.
Second down and 5. Quick pitch coming left side for Reggie Campbell. Trying to jitter step his way back toward the line of scrimmage. He does. He gains maybe a yard. Had to work very hard in which to get that. Good contain on the Rutgers defense. George Johnson, the freshman defensive end out of Glassboro, New Jersey.
Talk about balance in terms of these offenses coming in. We knew that Navy, #1 in all of college football, at 350 yards rushing. Look in this game here. Rutgers has ran the ball 16 times, passed it 10, a little bit more balance, and obviously Navy, with their ability to run that option, 22 runs and only a couple passes.
Hada with a flag coming in from the back judge. That came from way back. That guy might be available to pitch for the Mets. That was a long throw.
I think sometimes when you're an offensive player, we've seen that speed and the aggressiveness that Rutgers plays with, and all 11 guys getting to the ball. And if you're not careful as an offensive player, you find yourself...
Low block on the offense, number 28. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the infraction. Replay third down.
And so the game, Pete, is a lot about angles, and so normally when you play a typical opponent and the angle is a certain way when you throw your block, as you see Singleton there, playing against a Rutgers team with all this speed, suddenly that angle that normally would have been the proper angle for a correct block, now you're out of position a little bit, and now you have a penalty on Singleton.
Calling for a low block, obviously the meaning that Singleton hit somebody who was already engaged with a Navy blocker.
And obviously, Pete, penalties are detrimental to any team. But obviously to this Navy offense that likes to possess the football, get 4 and 5 yards, run the option. Now they find themselves at third and about 15, 17 yards. Very difficult in terms of actually having the backup quarterback in.
Inhada with a straight drop on 3rd and long. Steps up in the pocket, eludes one man, breaks away, drops the football. Navy going to recover it, though, at the 23-yard line. Antron Harper falls on the football as Inhada was trying to escape up through the pocket. Harper Johnny on the spot to fall on the ball for Navy.
Yeah, when Inhada goes back to pass, Pete, there's just absolutely no time to throw the football. I think if they're going to throw the football, they're just going to have to get back to the 3-step, get rid of the football. There's probably not a lot of time with this Rutgers aggressive defense to go through reads for Inhadu.
Matetto with a punt, low, doesn't turn over. Foster, late fair catch signal at the 42, but does make it in time. And Rutgers will have good field position here with 1 minute, 55 seconds to go. As you see, part of the Rutgers contingent, part of a record crowd here in Annapolis today, recognizing the enormity of this matchup between 5-0 Rutgers and 5-1 Navy. It's a homecoming Saturday here in Annapolis, and the best crowd they've ever had here in Maryland's capital city for football.
We've talked so much about these running backs at Rutgers. Obviously, they're terrific players, but Navy, again, like last year, has done a pretty good job. We're getting close to first half here, and Rutgers has 49 yards rushing. But last year, when Hart did so well, Mike Teel right now is 7 of 10, completing a lot of passes against this Navy defense.
Teel tries to come to Campbell on the boundary here on the near side. It's incomplete. It'll bring up 2nd down and 10. Keenan Little on the coverage at the 148 mark. Both teams with 3 timeouts remaining. Teel's 7 of 11 now for 80 yards in the contest. Teel barking out instructions, still has 13 on the play clock. Plenty of time there. Out of the gun. Leonard the single setback. Teel looking down, has a man wide open. Campbell is crushed as he tries to bring it in. Keetrick Buffin coming over with the big hit for the midshipman. Brings up 3rd and 10. Fans, stay tuned for CSTV Football Nation, the halftime show presented by Nissan with Adam Zucker and Scott Zolak. They'll have scores from around the nation and a feature on Rutgers running back Ray Rice, plus first half highlights and stats coming up. Greg Schiano over on the far side, having a conversation with Campbell.
Take a look here as Teel throws this football outside, and Campbell tries to make a play, but leads him a little too much, and a terrific hit by Buffin.
3rd and 10. Teel back to throw. Looking over the middle. Has a man wide open at the 40. It's Townsend down to the 30. It'll be a Rutgers first down. Taken down by Jeremy Miles in the secondary, but not before they move the football up 29 yards and a Rutgers first down.
See those wide receivers, Pete, right in the middle of the field. That's where they've attacked this Navy defense time and time again, right there in the middle of the field. When they went to the outside like they did right there, Teel tried to find Tiquan Underwood. Haven't been able to complete those passes, but right in the middle of the field to Clark Harris, tight ends and others, that's where they've attacked this Navy defense.
Yeah, it was a nice route by Townsend. DeLee's cut underneath of him. Miles was way back, so it gave Townsend plenty of real estate to operate. There you see Teel 8 of 14 now for 109 yards. 2nd and 10 upcoming here. Leonard the single setback. Foster, Townsend to the bottom of the screen. Underwood to the top. Harris, the tight end, is on the right side, bottom side of the formation. Teel out of the short shotgun formation. 3 steps, stops, pops out in the flat. Clark Harris run out of bounds by Jeremy Miles at the 26-yard line. He'll be about 5 yards short of a first down, brings up 3rd and 5.
You can see what Greg Schiano has done now, because you look at, they've seen Navy's defense, they've had extra guys in the box, and actually I think Navy's just done a really good job of getting off blocks and slowing down that running game. And so I think what Schiano is seeing is that, look, if we're going to continue to move the football, we're going to have Mike Teel throw the ball. Let's get the tight end involved, Clark Harris. You see him out in the flat that time. And once now again, you're in a spread offense, no backs in the backfield, spreading out this Navy defense, getting the proper matchups they want, man-to-man on the outside.
4 wide receivers and the tight end all split out on 3rd and 5 across the middle. It's Underwood. He's got open space at the 10. Jitter steps past the man for a touchdown. Mike Teel, 25 yards to Tiquan Underwood, and Trev, as you mentioned, again, in the middle of the field, they find pay dirt.
And what you do is you spread out that Navy defense, and I've been there. It's a difficult proposition. Irv Spencer is going to sit at middle linebacker, and Tiquan Underwood comes right across his face. That's a difficult matchup, gets into the second level, and does a great job of making a move to get into the end zone.
Jeremy Ito on for the extra point. And a very quick drive for the Scarlet Knights. They work the 2-minute offense to perfection. Ito makes the extra point. Minute 17 to go here in the second quarter. The 24th ranked Scarlet Knights up by 10.
See Teel as he goes back there. Eyes never leave the middle of the field. A huge opening in the middle of the field. Tiquan Underwood, because Navy's trying to match up on the outside, they've attacked that middle of the field. And Irv Spencer finds himself a little bit out of position, tries to get back to the inside, and Tiquan Underwood with all that speed, and he's another one of those Jersey kids we talked about. A lot of kids from Florida, but a lot of kids from Jersey and New York have bought into Greg Schiano. It's nice to see Tiquan Underwood make a play.
And of course, Mike Teel, the quarterback that time, plenty of time to throw. The New Jersey product out of Don Bosco Prep. Underwood looks like a guy, though, that really looks like he could be a big player in this offense down the road.
Well, he's 6'2". You know, he has that size a little bit in terms of getting off defensive backs. He has the speed as he continues to progress. They haven't been able to run the ball, but going back to the Jersey kids, Pedro Sosa, he's a Jersey kid. How about Jeremy Zuta, Jersey kid. Clark Harris, Jersey kid. I mean, he got him, instead of going to Syracuse, Clark Harris went to Rutgers, and so he started to convince some of those kids, and now the young kids around Rutgers and Jersey and New York, seeing the success that some of their former kids have had at their high schools, they're now interested in joining them at Rutgers as well.
Ito's kick going to go into the end zone. He has got a huge leg, and Campbell watches it go out of bounds. Of course, Navy playing with its second-string quarterback now, Kaipanoa Kehadu Inahata. Brian Hampton went out earlier in the ballgame. You can see right here with a dislocated knee. And even though Trev, before he got hurt to even now, their offense really wasn't going. It didn't have that rhythm that it normally has. And so far, only 57 yards of total offense for the Navy offense.
And as the crowd chanted for Brian Hampton as he went off the field, but you're right. I mean, they just haven't had a great job. They haven't done a great job of getting the offense in gear. They haven't done established Adam Ballard at all. They haven't got the pitch guys, the slot guys to the outside. They've had a little success throwing. Again now, as Inhadu tries to throw, but they just haven't been very good offensively in the first half.
Inhada's pass incomplete on first down. Let's go downstairs to Tom Hart.
All right, Pete, more on Brian Hampton. They just moments ago took him off in an ambulance. He's likely headed to Anne Arundel Medical Center. Early reports were that they were going to treat him here on site and that he would come out in the second half to offer moral support to his team. That doesn't seem to be the case now. He has more than 40 tickets out today to family members and friends who traveled from all over North Carolina, Ohio, and Missouri to come see him play. They won't see him play today.
On second down, short drop, quarterback draw. Inhada tries to find some open space, but that Rutgers defense closes quickly. It'll be a gain of 5. Greg Schiano out on the field to call a timeout with 3rd and 5 upcoming for Navy with 48 seconds to go.
Rutgers, their first charge, timeout of the half.
Schiano thinking, look, defensively now we have them at about 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Get another stop, force a punt. You got 48 seconds left in the first half here. They have some timeouts. Try to get down the field.
All right, Trevor, 1976, Rutgers finished the season undefeated, 11-0. What bowl did they go to? I will give you one hint.
Okay.
It was not the Garden State Bowl, which was literally in their own stadium at the time, right around the corner.
Independence Bowl, huh?
They did.
Oh, they did not attend. They were invited
down,
to the Independence Bowl.
That was the trick part of the question.
Slow to learn. Slow to learn, Pete.
Who wouldn't want a trip to Shreveport, though?
I've heard of others wanting to turn down.
All right, let's go downstairs again to Tom Hart.
Yeah, guys, I would love a trip to Shreveport. However, the Rutgers players did not want a trip. They're the ones that voted against going to the bowl game. They would have played Marist that year. Instead, Marist, in the first year of the bowl down in Shreveport, ends up playing Tulsa. And Marist came, McNeese State came away with the win that day.
McNeese State, the Cowboys. 48 seconds to go. 10-0 Rutgers lead, and good timeout by Greg Schiano. You've got Navy back deep inside the 30. If you do get the stop here, you've got a chance to maybe get some more points on the board. Still 2 timeouts remaining for the Scarlet Knights. Inhada, short drop, looks near side, looks on the slant. Tomlinson, oh, what a juggling catch by Jason Tomlinson. Knocked down at the 39-yard line. First down, Navy.
Well, Inhada does a nice job that time. Goes back, knows where he wants to go with the football, but had to fit it in between the corner and the safety, and does just in time.
Inhada quickly to the line of scrimmage on first down. Uses Ballard as a blocker, throws downfield, incomplete, flag down on the play. And holding the call against Navy.
I think you're starting to see, Pete, the athleticism of that Rutgers defense. We've been talking about them all day, but on a lot of these plays, when some of the Navy players...
Holding on the offense. Number 26. 10-yard penalty from the previous line of scrimmage. Replay first down.
Holding that time on Sean White, but when they get to the outside and they're man-to-man trying to block these Rutgers players, the speed and athleticism of those guys on the outside, there are times when some of these Navy slot backs, wide receivers, and even offensive linemen are a bit out of position and they have to reach out and hold.
I think it's ironic, too, as we talked about Rutgers' offense coming into the ballgame, but their defense as good as advertised flowing to the football here. Inhada back to throw. Looking long for Tomlinson down the sideline. And it'll fall incomplete. Good coverage on the play that time by Manny Collins, the senior out of Plainfield, New Jersey. Navy averaging just 2.6 yards per play, Trev. And in games that you watch the Naval Academy, that number is usually up around 5-6 yards per play, and that's where Rutgers is right now at 5.9.
Time of possession so important for this Navy team, and I can almost guarantee you that time of possession is probably in the favor of Rutgers at this point.
Here's Ballard with just his 3rd carry of the day. He's up to the 32-yard line. Greg Schiano calls the timeout. It's 3rd and about 18 coming up here for Navy to be 3rd and 17 after the timeout. Frierson again in on a stop. Frierson's name's the guy we've called quite a bit. A couple years ago, this rivalry took a turn here as Rutgers came to town to Annapolis. And, of course, you have the pageantry of, well, the midshipmen couldn't march onto the field. Rutgers wouldn't leave. And then before they left, before the pregame, took a little trip to the N-Star. But during the game, there you see David Mahoney with an interception return for a touchdown. Trev, this game was over by halftime. Navy at one point led 54-7.
And I don't think that if Rutgers comes here very often ever again, I don't think that we'll see them running up to the end, jumping down, up and down anytime soon. I mean,
no.
There's one thing you don't want to do is try to get this Navy team and this crowd excited. And as you see the history here, they've met 21 times, and Navy actually leads at 10-9. It'd be very interesting now with Schiano as he builds this program. I hope this rivalry continues. I mean, it's a terrific football game. You have Rutgers, who's ranked right now. Both of these teams here in the middle of October can become bowl eligible. It's a great environment. You see how many Jersey fans from Rutgers across New Jersey, New York, 4,000 and 5,000 made the trip here. I hope they continue that rivalry.
Well, you got a record crowd here today. It says it all. 36,918. 3rd down, 17. And hot on the option to the short side of the field. Has nowhere to pitch it. Gets a couple of yards up to the 34-yard line. Greg Schiano burns another timeout here with 19 seconds to go, and he'll at least make Navy punt the football.
Final timeout for the half.
John Chan, a member of this Navy team, a guy that played at the great De La Salle High School in California. He vividly remembers the 2004 incident here in Annapolis.
I remember Kyle Eckel going crazy in the locker room before when that happened. I think they, wouldn't get off the field when somebody asked, and then they were stomping on, the N-Star in the middle of the field. What they did 2 years ago sort of forgot about it. I think it's turned into a pretty respectful rivalry. But yeah, it's in the back of my mind at least.
And there you see John Chan right there, international relations major. And, it was kind of ironic when we were talking to him. This is a guy who said his high school team, which, of course, De La Salle never lost. They've got, like, eons of guys playing Division I football. They watch 6 hours of film on a Saturday.
Yeah. Coming to college for him was probably a break.
Absolutely.
You see some of these big-time high school programs getting these kids ready to play, and obviously De La Salle did a nice job with John Chan. You talk about the effort and the way he plays, flying all over the field. And, Rutgers, you can talk about what you want about this offense, but when you have Ray Rice and Brian Leonard, these are well thought of guys across college football. And so far in this game, it's been about Mike Teel, partly because Mike Teel's played well, but also because Navy's front three have done a really good job against the run.
Only 12 total first downs in the ball game. Vacetta with a nice punt. It's going to bounce. Keep on going, and keep on going, and keep on going. Finally, it goes down at the 14-yard line. Greg Vacetta has come in and done a fine job of the punting category for Navy. Trev, that is already his 6th punt of the half. Navy has had plenty of games under Paul Johnson where they didn't punt 6 times in 2 games.
It's been a completely different type of a game for this Navy offense, possessing the football. And coming into this game, I was surprised to find that Rutgers and Navy actually average both the same, 33 minutes of a game. Time of possession exactly the same for both Rutgers and Navy.
And of course, with a new rule, Rutgers doesn't have to run a play. The clock starts and quickly expires here. Last time Navy went to the locker room at halftime, shut out Notre Dame, October 16th of 2004. Paul Johnson's out on the field getting an explanation about some calls in the first half. Greg Schiano with Tom Hart.
All right, thank you, Coach. Only 45 yards rushing for Ray Rice in the first half, but our guys point out you're finding some soft stuff right over the middle with the passing game. Are you content with the way your offense is rolling in the first half?
We've moved the ball some, but we haven't punched it in the end zone. That's what we need to do. So we're getting there, getting a better feel. We just got to keep doing it.
Your kind of no-name defense has really stepped it up here in the first half as well. Got to be content with what they're doing.
They're playing well, but, the nature of this offense is very dangerous.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach. Pete?
All right, Tom, thank you. Now let's go to Adam Zucker and Scott Zolak at Fieldhouse in New York for CSTV Football Nation halftime show presented by Nissan.
All right, thanks a lot, guys, and welcome inside the CSTV Fieldhouse for the CSTV Football Nation halftime show presented by Nissan. Adam Zucker here with Scott Zolak. And so far, yeah, Rutgers has that 10-0 lead, but Navy doesn't have its star quarterback.
Well, you lost Brian Hampton right there. That takes the wind out of your sails. Not only does it change the complexion of the game, this may change the season for Navy. And Hada's got to get the job done. You got 2 very good tailbacks and 2 good fullbacks. Let's face it, it's the option. Get the ball to those guys and let them run.
Yeah, and Hampton isn't just a thrower. He's a guy who runs the ball for over 100 yards a game, and it didn't really look like that bad of an injury when we first saw it.
No, it didn't. And Brian Hampton, he got rolled on, and we're going to take a look at it right here. It's just a little reverse option. He cuts up inside, but watch the big defensive end come down over top. Now you're going to see a rear view of this, and folks, I'm telling you at home, if you don't want to see it or if you saw it already, turn away. Brian Hampton gets rolled from the left side. Watch his left leg get caught underneath his right. All of a sudden, right there, you're reaching for it. And the shock value of it right there for Brian Hampton. I've been hurt before, and I've seen guys get hurt like that. Right there, everything flashes in front of your eyes. You got a tingling sensation. You're just hoping his kid could get up and rehab and just be functional.
Yeah, Hampton's career and potential military service also flashing in front of his eyes right now. All right, let's see what's going on elsewhere. It had all been going so well. Changing of the guard as far as who gets to run around the guards at Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights rushing attack, one of the best in the country, thanks to 2 guys and their willingness and ability to work together. We'll explore the relationship between Ray Rice and Brian Leonard when the Nissan halftime show continues. Nation halftime show presented by Nissan. Rutgers up 10-0 on Navy and 5-0 for the first time since 1976. And like last year, doing it with running, but the guy getting most of the carries, not the same as 2005. 2005 was a milestone year for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and fullback Brian Leonard was the heart and soul of the team. With some Heisman talk surrounding Leonard entering the season, expectations were high in the Garden State. Those hopes have been met thus far, as Rutgers is on its way to a phenomenal season. But they aren't winning games the way you might think. Meet Ray Rice, shifty sophomore running back who's on pace for more than 2,000 yards this season. whose performance has knocked Leonard, one of the great runners in Rutgers history, out of the spotlight.
We saw in training camp Ray's potential. I mean, we knew it when we recruited him, but then when we actually coached him, you know, he climbed over 4 guys to become the starting tailback opening game of his freshman year. So, I mean, that alone, you know, it's kind of a testament to what we believed he was capable of.
But while the new kid has stolen the gusto from the veteran, there's no rivalry here. In fact, it was Leonard who graciously stepped aside and helped nurture the younger Rice into a star.
He's so unselfish about things, and he's our captain, and I call him my big brother now. He's been through it. So I mean, I got a role model right in front of me.
Brian is so committed to Rutgers winning, and he'll do anything he can to help us win, and that's what makes him the guy he is. I mean, he's a special guy. I've been around some great players, and Brian's very, very special.
My role has changed a little bit this year. You know, I'm doing more blocking for Ray and catching the ball out of the backfield. But, you know, making a block for Ray is just as exciting as going in a touchdown for me. So, I mean, if we're winning, you know, that's all I care about.
With Leonard clearing a path for Ray, the Scarlet Knights are off to one of their best starts ever. And in the process, they've become the best of friends.
He just welcomed me in with open arms, and from there, I mean, it was just bonding.
I'll be calling him before every game next year, just to see what he's doing and see how the team's doing and keep him in check. You know, we'll remain friends for the rest of our lives.
47 yards so far for Rice in the first half. Rutgers with a 10-0 lead. We'll talk about what Navy needs to do in the second half when we come back to the Fieldhouse. Fieldhouse here. Navy down 10-0. Scott, where's this team emotionally right now?
Well, they got to find themselves. Right now, you got to bang the ball to the fullbacks. You got Ballard and all these guys can carry it. Reggie Campbell needs to make one big play. And if you're Greg Schiano, I'd blitz the heck out of Inhada and put the pressure on him.
All right, that'll do it here for the CSTV Football Nation halftime show presented by Nissan. Scott and I back after the game with Game Tracker Live. Rutgers on top of Navy, 10-0.
Welcome to Rutgers University, founded in 1766, 10 years before the American Revolution. Ooh, here we go, I know, shortcut. Oh, and that's lovely. Hold on, this could get a little bumpy. Rutgers research is revolutionizing transportation. Thanks, Carol. Helping create new jobs and businesses, protecting New Jersey's famous shoreline, and pioneering new ways to fight disease. Hi, Professor. And the research our professors do shapes the lessons they teach in the classroom. That's what makes Rutgers such a great university. You've been a great group. Bye-bye.
CSTV Football Nation, Rutgers versus Navy, is being brought to you by Nissan, proud presenter of the 2006 Heisman. Visit theheismanvote.com to cast your vote. And by Duplicolor. Hey, college football fans, you can win the ultimate fan weekend complete with tickets, tailgating party, plasma TV, and more by spraying your spirit with Duplicolor's Carhartt temporary paint. Go to duplicolor.com to learn more. A homecoming Saturday afternoon, and we are at the half here in Annapolis. The Naval Academy trailing the 24th-ranked Rutgers Scarlet Knights by a score of 10-0. The award-winning Navy Drum and Bugle Corps coming off the field. Rutgers folks happy because the first half has been all red and white. Let's take a look at the first half highlights. Of course, the key injury in the game, Navy losing leading rusher and quarterback Brian Hampton to a dislocated knee. Jeremy Ito gets Rutgers on the board with a field goal, Trev, and then Mike Teel goes to work.
Mike Teel was 10 of 16 for 139 yards, looks left, goes back to the middle. It's been the middle of the field. Taquan Underwood here with a nice touchdown again. You see Teel, huge opening there in the middle, and Taquan Underwood takes it in for the touchdown for Rutgers. It's 10-0 at the half.
Let's take a look at the Nissan Shift Performance, or the Shift Performance rather, brought to you by Nissan. Trev, what does Navy have to do to get back in this game?
Well, so far Adam Ballard's got 3 carries for only 12 yards. It's a 4-yard average, but last week against Air Force, he was unbelievable. 27 carries, 134 yards, and so I think when you go to the backup quarterback, you go to a guy who's a junior, he's been there, give the ball to Adam Ballard and establish the fullback.
All right, 10-0 Rutgers. Second half action is straight ahead. Come on back right here on CSTV. Annapolis, Rutgers ahead by a score of 10-0. Let's throw it downstairs. Tom Hart with Paul Johnson.
All right, Coach, first half lost a big-time leader when losing your quarterback. What about the job Inhada did to close out the half?
Well, I think he's doing okay. We got to give him some help. There's some other guys out there got to block some people, and we got to try to find a way to get some kind of something going on offense. We didn't have a sustained drive the whole first half.
Heading off the field and in this tunnel, there's some talk between you, Schiano, and the officials. Was that between you and Schiano or just the officials?
No, I was just talking to the officials.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Pete?
All right, and there you see Greg Schiano. Gets a hug and ready to go back to work here in the second half. There you see Rutgers. Trev, they have been huge, to say the least, in the third quarter this season.
Greg Schiano and his staff has done a great job of making the adjustments, but don't forget Paul Johnson also has done a great job of making the adjustments, finding out what opposing defenses are doing in the first half. And I think what he's going to find out when he looks on the film at some point of the first half of this ball game is that Rutgers is awfully fast on defense. I mean, they fly to the football, they have a lot of speed, and you see what Navy's done in the second half. They scored on the first drive of the second half in 14 of the last 17 games. That's what's called making the adjustment, finding the soft spot in the defense. I think the difficult thing for Coach Johnson is simply this. There are not a lot of soft spots on this Rutgers defense because of the speed they have in filling, and that's why I thought establishing Adam Ballard in the middle of the field, you get the fullback involved and get him going, and all of a sudden that forces the defensive linemen and linebackers to focus on him, and then maybe Inhado can get to the corner and make some plays on the perimeter.
Ballard with only 3 carries for 12 yards in that first half. Inhado leading Navy with 11 carries for just 19 yards. Ito on the kickoff. And what a weapon number 1 is. And he will watch Reggie Campbell down and in the end zone. And Trev, again, we talk about it. Special teams, such a huge issue if you can get 2 good specialists. Rutgers has 2 guys that are going to be bona fide opportunists on the NFL level. Radigan, the number 1 punter in the country, and Ito. Every kickoff's been out of the end zone here today.
A field position game. Remember in that first quarter there when the punt forced Navy to start out inside the 1-yard line. Obviously they were the beneficiary of a play in the end zone where they got to the 20-yard line, but special teams so important, and Rutgers playing very well there right now.
2 of the top rushing teams in the nation, both struggling here this afternoon. Scarlet Knights by 10, first play of the second half. It's Inhada on the pitch to Campbell. Campbell up to the 27-yard line. Geralt, the first hit for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Gain of 7 will bring up second down and 3.
See, I think, Pete, getting to the perimeter, you see Inhada right there going down the line, takes a little bit of a shot, and a nice pitch to Campbell that time. Getting to the perimeter will be very difficult against this Rutgers defense, but when you're Paul Johnson, that's what you do. This is the offense that you run. You make the correct calls and checks at the line of scrimmage, and you attack. It's a nice play on first down.
Second down and 3, Inhada to the line of scrimmage. Here comes Campbell in motion, and it's Ballard on the carry up the middle. He's hit first there by Quintero Frierson. Frierson in on another tackle here this afternoon. He has had a fine ball game so far for the Scarlet Knights.
All 3 of these linebackers from Rutgers do a great job of scraping, getting off blocks, and I think at some point they're so aggressive on defense, the way they fly to the football. Interesting to see if Navy can use that aggressiveness of that defense against Rutgers, maybe in the screen game or a reverse or something to take advantage of that aggressive Rutgers defense.
Inhada on the sneak. He'll be across the 30, near the 31, and he will have a first down for the midshipmen.
Something Coach Johnson told our Tom Hart at halftime I think was so important, and he said, as you see the surge here by this Navy offensive line getting just enough for the first down, but he talked about having drives. That's what this offense does. It drives the football down the field. They didn't have any drives in the first half. We'll see if they can get one here early in the second.
Navy on first down. Geico, the proud sponsor of the 1st and 10 line for today's game. Here's the pitch to Campbell. Campbell's got a little bit of an alley. He'll get across the 40 up near the 44-yard line, and he will have another Navy first down. Geralt with a stop in the secondary.
So Navy's found a little opportunity on the outside. The second time that Reggie Campbell has gotten to the outside, Rutgers slow plays the quarterback that time. A nice pitch gets outside, and terrific blocking on the outside again by those Navy wide receivers.
Thought it was interesting. Greg Schiano grabbed his defensive end Jamal Westerman, who kind of stutter-stepped into the area that time, never really forced Inhada to make a quick decision. He does this time and wraps him up at the 45-yard line. It'll be a gain of 1. I would say the message has been delivered.
The message is delivered because he wants his defensive ends crashing down, forcing the young quarterback to make an initial decision. You have a young quarterback in the game, you want him to make an early decision because he doesn't have that experience that a guy like Brian Hampton had. Forget slow playing the quarterback down the line. You drill him, you make rid of it, make him get rid of the football, and then wait for your fast secondary to come up in support.
2nd and 9 from the 45. Here's Hot on the play action pass. Had Campbell breaking open down the left side, but time runs out as he is sacked on the play. Heading into the backfield for the Scarlet Knights, Eric Foster, the junior out of Homestead, Florida, with a sack.
That time in Hadu, they've run just enough option. They've had some success on the outside, and as he goes back here, little play action to Ballard, goes back, and typically you're going to get a man-on-man matchup on the outside, but that time Jason McCourty does a terrific job of not biting on the run, stays with his wide receiver, and the difference is the speed of these corners. They can cover the Navy wide receivers man-to-man.
And you can see there, Trev, he completely locked on one man there. Navy 4 of 11 on 3rd down today. Inhada with pressure. Steps up, gets away from one man, but not from Beckford, who finishes him off back at the 36-yard line. And again, this swarming Rutgers defense does its job here on this first drive of the second half.
Brandon Reckard at linebacker is simply going to come off the corner. They bring a linebacker on the blitz, and nobody picked him up. So many times in protection, he's unaccounted for, and you're going to see 47 come right there off the corner, and Inhadu has no choice but to step up right into the pressure of William Beckford.
So Viteto on for punt number 7 today. Low snap. He makes the job of fielding it, but it's blocked. It's blocked and recovered at the 23-yard line, blocking the punt. Number 26, Manny Collins, the senior out of Plainfield, New Jersey. He got in, took advantage of the low snap, and the Scarlet Knights are in business as they'll start their first possession of the second half of the Navy 22.
Here comes a replay here. Rutgers has the all-out block on. They come right up the middle and do a good job of attacking half of the man. And there's about 3 different guys there, and Greg Schiano, realizing how important field position and special teams are in this game, finds his offense almost in the red zone right here early in the 3rd quarter.
Again, a big special teams play. Not only do they have good specialists, but their special teams come up with a punt block right there. With the way this game is going, if Rutgers can put this in for a touchdown, make Navy's job very, very tough here on this Saturday afternoon. Leonard in motion to give Rice. Starts right, goes left, down near the 20-yard line. Be a gain of 3. Make it a gain of 2 officially on the play. It'll be a 2nd down and 8. Mahoney on the stop for the midshipman.
And Mahoney ran about 30 yards to make that tackle of about 3 yards. You like the aggressiveness of David Mahoney coming off that left edge, came all the way across the field and makes the play on Ray Rice from the back in a 3-yard gain. Navy's done a really nice job slowing down this Rutgers run game.
Mahoney with his 5th stop of the day. 2nd down and 7. The ball at the 20. Harris in motion, and it's Leonard coming right side, trying to get outside, gets away from 2 guys, and again run out of bounds near the 20, make it the 17-yard line. Irv Spencer, the last guy to make contact with him. It'll bring up 3rd down and about 4.
And ultimately Irv Spencer's going to make the tackle, but David Mahoney right there in the backfield forces Leonard to go wider on that run right there and allows Navy's defenders to come join him. And Irv Spencer finally gets Leonard out of bounds.
So Rutgers now with a 3rd down opportunity coming up here. Under 10 to go here in the 3rd. Scarlet Knights scoring the only time they got into the red zone today. Remember the touchdown was a 25-yard pass. Manny Collins with his 2nd block punt of the year for the Scarlet Knights to set it up. Screen out to Leonard. Has room. 10, 5, flag down. Tiquan Underwood going to be called for holding here. Field judge James Smith to the referee Gerard McGinn. They also had a lineman down there at about the 3-yard line, so it could be that as well.
See, Teel actually could go.
On the offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the infraction. Replay 3rd down.
Could have went to the tight end that time. Initially looks to the tight end, then goes back to Leonard, and Jeremy Zuta's down the field. And Tiquan Underwood that time trying to block. You get a hold call down there. That puts Rutgers back.
A lot of times, too, as you saw that time, Underwood had the arms extended, engaging Keetrick Buffin, and that gives the official a really good look at the play. Flag marked back to the 16-yard line, so it'll be 3rd down and 3. It's a spot foul. So 10 yards marked off from the 6. 3rd and 3 upcoming here for Teel, who brings him to the line of scrimmage. They adjust out of the eye, empty backfield.
Pete, watch for the middle of the field again. This is the same situation they had in the first half, right in the middle.
They throw across the middle to Foster, who tries to break out of a tackle and can't, but he'll have a first down and goal to go at the 9-yard line.
And see, what they're doing is they're getting their wide receivers like Willie Foster or Tiquan Underwood in the middle of the field where you've got a linebacker matched up. And that time, Irv Spencer does a terrific job of making the tackle, stays right at home, wraps up, and makes the tackle. It's a first down, but yet he doesn't allow him to get into the end zone.
And again, Teel, unpressured, had time to throw the football, step up and throw. Twists his ankle and limps off at the end of the play. On first down, Teel looking, has a man across the middle and into the end zone for a touchdown. And Tiquan Underwood makes up for the holding penalty, and he has his second touchdown of the day.
We see the difference, Pete, when you get turnovers, you get the special teams plays, and all of a sudden Rutgers has a short field, and so you take advantage of that short field, you spread people out, you attack the middle of the field. That was a nice series there by that Rutgers offense.
And the Big East is slowly finding out it's not just West Virginia and Louisville. The Scarlet Knights and Jeremy Ito ready to tack on the extra point here, right down Broadway. And with 9 minutes and 21 seconds to go here in quarter number 3, the Scarlet Knights leading Navy 17-0. Back with more in a moment on CSTV. Tiquan Underwood, Trev, had a holding penalty that negated a Brian Leonard touchdown, and the Rutgers fans very happy. The Red have come out in mass here, helping form a record crowd here in Annapolis today. Mike Teel, impressive, 13 of 19 for 166. Trev, if he does that, they are going to be big down the stretch in the Big East.
See the scoring drive there, 5 plays, 23 yards, a minute 41. And Underwood has the big catch for the touchdown. I was really interested in seeing this Rutgers team. Obviously, you see them on television, you hear about them. I'd seen Navy play before, but I'm impressed with Greg Schiano's team. And I think you mentioned Mike Teel, his continued development. I mean, Navy's obviously trying to take the run away. So if you have a quarterback that can complete plays, and now all of a sudden other defenses have to say, well, wait a minute, Mike Teel can beat us too. And then you get Ray Rice and Brian Leonard going, you know, the sky is really the limit for this offense.
You know, we talked about the receivers too in their youth. Coming into the game, Tiquan Underwood had 5 grabs. He has 3 already today for 45 yards and 2 scores. Ironically enough, Trev, the leading tackler for Rutgers is Courtney Green in the secondary. When you see we have not called his name all day today, that means Navy is not getting to that 3rd level of Rutgers defense.
And they really haven't hardly gotten to the 2nd level.
Right.
I mean, so many times that defensive front 4 of Rutgers have gotten into the backfield and disrupted this Navy offense.
And hot on the option, the pitch behind the pitch man Singleton gets it across the 20 up to the 23-yard line. It'll be a gain of 2nd down, or be a gain of 3 rather, 2nd down and 7. George Johnson up on the first hit for the Scarlet Knights.
So difficult in Hadu. You know, here you are at quarterback. You finally get down the line of scrimmage. You pitch the football, and there's Ron Geralt standing. I mean, the strong safety coming in with 18 tackles has had a terrific day of standing his ground, being disciplined, and waiting for that pitch man to come.
And motion across the formation on 2nd down. And Hada tries the reverse pivot, stops, goes to throw, has Campbell, and it's just off his fingertips at the Rutgers 45.
Pass incomplete, intended for number 7.
That was the big play Navy needed and was looking for the ball just a stride ahead of Reggie Campbell on the play. He was being covered but had beaten Courtney Green on the play.
And Anhadu that time goes back to pass, and Eric Foster with a huge hit on Anhadu, but he has a nice throw, and it's right there for Reggie Campbell. Simply can't bring it in. And Navy has not had the opportunity to drive the football. They've been waiting for the big play, and after Eric Foster just drills in Hadu, he gets rid of the football just in time, and Reggie Campbell can't come up with a catch.
On 3rd down, and Hada run down from the backside. Foster again in on the stop, 56. Coming down the line, Westerman. Westerman's had a super football game today, and also at the point of attack. Good job there by Remain Meekins, the senior out of Westwood, New Jersey. The impressive thing about Rutgers today, too, Trev, is their guys running down the line of scrimmage, running downhill. Westerman coming down the line. And on the opposite side, Beckford coming down the line to make tackles. And there's another block. Vitello has this punt blocked for the second time in as many punts. And Rutgers will have it inside the 10-yard line.
Pete, obviously Greg Schiano and this Rutgers staff have found something in the Navy punting game that they realize they could exploit, and it's nothing fancy. It's simply right up the middle. Look at here in punt formation, it's simply beating a block and getting up and making another huge block, a game of field position and turnovers. Rutgers again now inside the 10-yard line going in to score.
Glenn Lee, part of that New Rochelle, New York high school trifecta of Rice, Green, and Lee. The sophomore safety blocks the punt. Their second one in as many punts, and Rutgers has it first and goal. Rice to the line of scrimmage, and Caldwell makes the stop for no gain.
Boy, this Navy defense, Pete, who's really been on the field the entire game because of the way the game has sort of progressed and the turnovers and Navy not being able to sustain a drive. But yet again, Rob Caldwell continues to simply make plays. Remember, he had went out earlier with a bit of an injury, comes back, and I've been impressed with Navy's ability to slow down, not completely shut down, but really slow down, which was a very vaunted running attack by Rutgers.
Loss of a yard officially, second and goal from the 10. I mean, Trev, if I told you before the game, middle of the third quarter, Rice and Leonard combined for 65 yards, you'd think the score would be reversed. Here's Teel, handing Rice, looking to cut back. Gains a couple, Keenan Little on the stop for Navy down at the 7-yard line. Third and goal upcoming for the Scarlet Knights.
And Ray Rice cut back, found Rob Caldwell once again in the hole, continues the cut, and Keenan Little does a nice job of staying at home out there at right corner and runs right into Keenan Little. He wraps up and makes a nice play. Again, the story of this game, at least for Rutgers offensively, has been Mike Teel's ability and this offensive line to give him time to find open wide receivers, predominantly most of it happening in the middle of the field.
Let's see what Rutgers elects to do here. They spread it out. Watch Clark Harris in the slot. He's one of three receivers to the bottom of the screen. Twins to the top. Teel looking to the top of the screen. Miscommunication there through the fade. Both of his receivers tucked down about 4 yards in the end zone, and that'll bring on Jeremy Ito for the field goal attempt. Jeremy Ito with what should be a pretty reasonable 24-yard attempt coming up here for him. Hit a career best 53 in the game against South Florida, their last time out. Snap, ball's down, kick is up, and the kick is good. So Rutgers blocks another punt, gets more points. 5:59 to go in the third with a flag down on the play. It'll be against Navy. We'll go ahead and take a break. Scarlet Knights by 20, CSTV. Scarlet Knights now up by a score of 20-0 as Jeremy Ito gets the field goal. The flag, believe it or not, was running into the kicker. Jeremy Ito qualifying for football's version of the Emmy Awards. Can't blame him for trying. Would have gotten his team 5 more yards, but with the ball being on the 7, Greg Schiano just leaves the points up on the board. And it is now 20-0, Rutgers in front. And Trev, as we alluded to earlier, the Big East over the past couple of seasons has taken some shots at the level of football. Louisville and West Virginia, folks knew they would be good coming into this season, but this Rutgers team clearly showing today that they want to and probably now belong in that upper echelon.
Yeah, and I think we're going to learn a little bit more about Rutgers. I mean, you look at them next week, they're at Pittsburgh. November 9th, they have Louisville. Then December 2nd, they're at West Virginia. So the lion's share of their schedule is still really ahead of them. But, I mean, you can see on the field, we know how good Navy is. We know how well they've played, at least recently. And for Rutgers to come in here and right now be up 20-0 tells me an awful lot, irregardless of the fact that Brian Hampton is out with an injury.
Fans, don't forget, we still got a lot more football for you here at CSTV on this Saturday, 7:30 Eastern Time. Two teams anxious to get their seasons on track, square off in the Lone Star State. UAB visits Rice in a Conference USA battle for respect. Stay tuned tonight for more great football action on CSTV. Football is a way of life. Live it with CSTV. Rice, of course, going to Army a couple of weeks ago with an impressive performance, getting a big win up in West Point, New York. UAB started its year with a near miss down at Oklahoma. Ito to kick off. Everyone's gone into the end zone today. Status quo. Navy will start at the 20-yard line. Navy, Trev, outside of the one drive where they got the fumble by Rice, they have virtually had no field position in this game. Even when they held a punt earlier, Bodkin puts them back in, or Radigan rather puts them inside the 1-yard line, and every kickoff by Ito, they start a drive at the 20.
It really limits what you can do offensively, at least if you're the play caller and you find yourself inside your own 20 consistently or at your 20, you're a little bit more conservative, not wanting to give Rutgers a short field, and now down 20-0. And I think that Paul Johnson just wants to see a drive. He would just like to see one drive where this offense comes out, executes the way that he knows that they can, and try to have a drive against this defense.
And hot on the option coming left side. Breaks out a one tackle, gets past a couple of guys up near the 23-yard line. Be a gain of 3, second down and 7.
See, Pete, the difference between playing a typical defense that Navy might run into and playing Rutgers defense in terms of the speed is it's the backside pursuit that ultimately gets you. Is when the quarterback cuts up, where ordinarily he would get 5 or 6 yards, you've got the backside pursuit with guys like William Beckford and Jamal Westerman that are making plays after 2 yards.
Here's the give to Ballard up the middle, across the 25, near the 27-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd down and 3.
And I should point out, Pete, too, we talked at halftime about getting Adam Ballard the football. Well, parts of this offense, it's about reading, and if the correct read is to not give the ball to Adam Ballard because the linebacker or the nose guard takes him, that's the way it works out. I mean, he may have 3 carries one game and 27 the next based on how a defense chooses to defend. Obviously, Rutgers is defending Adam Ballard in this offense.
And Hana follows Ballard and McCoy. He's going to be stopped short of the first down at the 29. Needed to get to the 30. Not going to get there. Beckford coming down the line of scrimmage. Also underneath of there, Geralt up there at the line of scrimmage. And Thompson and Giacobbe doing a nice job at the point of attack that time, getting lower. You hear coaches talk about pad level so much, Trev, especially down in the trenches. And right now, Rutgers seems to be getting better pad level than Navy because they are dominating at the point of attack.
They really are. They've established that line of scrimmage. Navy hasn't been able to get much of a push at all. If anything, it's been back, and here's Navy now going for it on 4th down.
And Inhada tries to go forward, and I don't think he got it, Trev. I don't think he got it. Neither one of those spots favor a first down. Foster again down on the bottom. Giacobbe down there. Frierson. And they are short of the 30, and it'll be a first down, Rutgers.
And here's the play right here. You talk about pad level, and you can see those Eric Foster and Ramel Meekins getting lower than the offensive line, and then Devron Thompson, Quintero Frierson, they come flying in. And Coach Johnson talking to his quarterback about, son, okay, now when we run this play, here's what I want you to do. Find this, get over here. We've got to get a first down. It's 4th down.
Here's what I'm trying to figure out. If the ball was on the 20, the ball didn't make it to the 30, why would you measure?
Pete, are we ripping on these officials again? Last time I worked with you, we got the 2-minute warning, remember?
Right, that's right. I'm not ripping on. I'm just saying if the ball has to touch the 30, the ball's not touching the 30, so it should have been immediately put in play and given Rutgers the football.
It's an easy call, but as you know, many times the coaches on the sideline will say, Paul will say, well, let's measure it. Are you sure? Did we not get it? I mean, it's a long way over there. And so they want to try to make the call right. But again, now we've talked about field position. Rutgers deep into the territory of Navy again, to be very aggressive with their play calling. Again, they spread out this Navy defense. You have Ray Rice back there looking again to attack the middle of the field.
Teel pump fakes, throws, looking down the seam, and it's intercepted. Intercepted by Navy on the return coming out of there, Jeremy McGowan. And he'll return it back to the 15-yard line, and a big play there for the Navy defense if the midshipmen have any hopes of getting back in this football game.
It was interesting that time. Teel goes back to pass. He looks to the left, and he really wants to go right in the seam. Little pump fake goes into the seam right there, and Tiquan Underwood acts like he doesn't think the ball should come to him. It looks like he wasn't the primary receiver. He goes right there into the seam. Jerry McGowan does a nice job of paying attention and picking the ball off. But again, that's probably reminiscent of what we talked about with Greg Schiano and those young wide receivers. Underwood not thinking he was going to get the football, doesn't finish the play.
McGowan did a good job breaking off of his man who was running a pattern right down the sideline. So Inhata is back on the field and again under pressure. And he's sacked again. Back near the 10-yard line. Getting in the backfield. Rencart for the Scarlet Knights. Rencart, rather, the junior out of Piscataway, New Jersey, the homegrown product.
We can see the sacks here for this Rutgers defense, and Rencart is just simply going to come on the outside. They're going to bring pressure over here. They also get a lot of pressure over here, and as they come right here, he goes back to pass a little play action. He just beats him to the inside, and Rencart is unblocked. You take the defensive end, you bring him to the inside, and Rencart makes the play.
Inhata faked the pitch. Not going for it was George Johnson, who put the helmet right on him. Back at the 10-yard line, it'll be no gain in 3rd and 15.
And Greg Schiano, again, I think everybody should understand, he's the head coach of this Rutgers team, but 2 years ago he took over as the defensive coordinator of this unit, and they have made so much progress in terms of getting to the football. And you can hear the hit right there that time, an aggressive, fast front seven of this Rutgers defense.
Inhata back to throw, has pressure, and he's sacked again! The ball came loose, the official pointing in favor of Navy, then puts up the fist for the 4th down signal, but right now as Gaskins comes up with the recovery.
Once again, just coming off pressure off this side. They take these defensive linemen, they bring them to the inside, and then the pressure comes from the outside, and it's an easy sack again by Rencart. What Schiano has done is he's taken his front 4 and he pinches them to the inside when the tackles go in to block them, then brings an outside linebacker off the outside, and Renkart's been in the backfield all day.
Mateto goes to the rugby-style punt just to get it off. Foster will let it bounce. It'll take a Navy roll into Rutgers territory down near the 47-yard line. Scarlet Knights all over Navy in the 3rd quarter, 20-0 CSTV.
It's too small.
And welcome back. It's a 20-0 Rutgers lead as the 3rd quarter comes near an end. Joined now by Nate Leonard, former Rutgers linebacker. He's in the Rutgers Scarlet, you can see today. But if it wasn't for an ACL injury your senior year of high school, you might be dressed in Syracuse orange. That, for a family from upstate New York, really changed the complexion of your brother's recruiting pitch. Was it him that wanted to come to Rutgers, or you that pushed him that way?
Well, when I was in high school, I tore my ACL my senior year, and Syracuse was my childhood school. Unfortunately, I tore it, and they backed off a little bit. I went to Rutgers, and I can't say Brian wouldn't have come here, but it was a better chance since I was here. He really believes in what Coach John says about the program, and it proves it out in the field today.
Navy, obviously a special place to you and your family. Your father served for a number of years and lost his best friend due to a helicopter accident while he was serving. Tell us how that influenced your family and your middle name.
Well, yeah, my father's best friend is Paul Capolino. He was an officer in the Naval Academy. But he unfortunately he got killed in the helicopter accident, and my mother actually found out that day that that week that she was pregnant with me, and they named me my middle name is Paul after Paul Capolino.
Ties between both programs and Rutgers rolling now. Pete?
All right, Tom, thank you. Ray Rice with a carry to conclude this 3rd quarter. 20-0 Scarlet Knights on CSTV. The Blue Angels, a staple of many air shows you see across the country. Part of the great flyover tradition here at the Naval Academy, which we had some F-18C Hornets today out of Lemoore, California. Rutgers right now facing a 2nd down and 8 from their own 48-yard line. Mike Teel easily with his best performance of the season so far. Twins to the top, he gives it to Rice, running right side, trying to get outside on the corner, and he does. Knocked out of bounds by Keenan Little in Navy territory at the 48-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and just over 3 yards to go.
We talked to Rutgers coaches about Mike Teel in terms of what they allow him to do at the line of scrimmage, and they said, well, he gets 2 plays, and I think that time showed he checked out of a pass play, thought he saw something he liked on the outside, and went to the run with Ray Rice. I think we've seen Mike Teel take another step in terms of his development as a quarterback in this game. It was clear that Navy was not going to allow Brian Leonard and Ray Rice to run all over them. The pressure and the onus was on Mike Teel, and he's answered that call today.
Sure has. Brian Leonard in motion on 3rd down. Now stops in the slot. Teel Looking, looks left, now looks right, sits down, finds his man, coming across the field at the 30. It's Underwood again down at the 29. And Trevor, I tell you, these two guys are youngsters. They're sophomores, but they are really starting to find that connection. Underwood's 4th catch of the day.
Feeling comfortable with Underwood, but again, something that might be missed. That time Teel looks to the right, had a receiver in the flat that drew a defensive player from Navy over, and that allowed Underwood to come free in the curl, wide open, and Teel finds him. Again, looking off the defenders and going to the second receiver.
First down and 10 for Rutgers at the 29-yard line. Teel puts Leonard in motion, shuffles across, now back across the formation, the hand to Rice, right up the middle. Rice taken down. It'll be a loss of a yard on the play. Good penetration that time by Ty Adams. Tyler Tidwell for the midshipman, along with David Wright, the nose guard.
Cannot say enough about Buddy Green's defense hanging in there all day. Sure, they've given up some plays in the passing game. They were allowing some passing yards, almost 220 for the season, but against the run, this vaunted offensive line, you know, Ty Adams is 225 pounds. And Buddy Green, his defensive coordinator, loves those front three. They play hard, and they've done a great job of slowing down that Rutgers run game.
Ray Rice with just 56 yards all day on 17 carries. Ryan Leonard 4 for 18. Teel back to throw. Again, looks left, now right, looking long for Foster. And it was almost caught by the Scarlet Knights mascot over in the far corner. He ineligible to receive the ball on the play.
Pete, can I point something out? You know, we talked about Brian Leonard last year coming in. He's the Heisman Trophy candidate. Then Ray Rice comes on. Something about this last play that really impressed me. I mean, Brian Leonard talked about at the next level, if he gets to play in the NFL, he realized that he probably had to increase his ability as a blocker. And that time, Tyler Tidwell came on a blitz on the outside, and Brian Leonard stepped up and made a terrific block, allowing Mike Teel incomplete pass. And again, Brian Leonard unselfishly doing whatever he can to help this offense.
Talk to some folks who think he's clearly a first-day draft pick in the National Football League with that athletic ability. Here's Teel on 3rd down. Throws it, has his man. Great catch by Townsend across the middle, and he takes it into the end zone for a touchdown. Great throw, Mike Teel.
You're going to see him right here. Here's Mike Teel, sits back, and the offensive line gives him plenty of time. Caldwell came on the blitz, and again, they found something in that defense. Navy goes back into his zone, and Townsend gets inside the safety in that zone, sort of in the middle of the field, and Mike Teel throws a dart, and it's another touchdown with a chance to go up 27-0 here in the 4th quarter.
Here's Zito on for the extra point, and Jeremy puts it right down the middle. First career touchdown for Townsend gives Rutgers a 27-0 lead here in Annapolis on CSTV. $27-0 Rutgers Scarlet Knights on top here. James Townsend with his first career touchdown. Trev.
Let's go back to that touchdown. Here's Clint Soviet, linebacker. He's got to take the proper angle back there and get back there and try to cover Townsend as he goes across the middle. Doesn't take the proper angle, and Townsend gets just behind him. And you see late in that frame right there, Jeremy Miles at safety doesn't really help Clint Sovey out. He had to do a better job of getting over the top. But again, Mike Teel, a terrific job of finding an open James Townsend.
Navy's first kick return of the day. Campbell pounded at the 17-yard line. How do you do? Getting down on special teams for the Scarlet Knights, Zaire Kitchen, the freshman out of Hightstown, New Jersey, and Hargrave Military Academy.
Enjoy this, Pete.
Wow! Oh, man. The aptly named, right in his kitchen.
But that's what Greg Schiano talks about. See, all these young kids that now come to Rutgers, it's been established what's expected when you get on the field in terms of effort. And everybody talks about how hard Navy plays. Talking to the Navy coaches and players, they pointed out, you know what? Rutgers plays pretty hard as well.
Jared Bryan in a quarterback for the midshipman, pitches to Reggie Campbell left side. Campbell avoids a couple of guys for moving up to the 23-yard line. Beckford in on the stop. Beckford, who's got a career-high 3.5 tackles for a loss today. And Greg Schiano talked about that a little bit this week. Here's a freshman getting down on special teams. You see Jared Bryant out of the great program in Hoover, Alabama. But when he tells these guys, at one point they weren't having so much success, he didn't guarantee playing time for anybody, but he says you have an opportunity to earn playing time, and Kitchen obviously has on special teams. Here's Bryant, keeps it, goes up the middle, gets up near the 28-yard line. It'll bring up a first down for Navy, just Navy's 7th first down of the day.
Going back to Schiano and that defense, he says, really, that's the only thing as a coach. That's the only thing you can control. I mean, the one thing that'll motivate a kid is playing time. Right. Every kid comes to college. They go to these programs, to the Naval Academy or to Rutgers, because they want to play in the game on Saturday. And so there's an expectation about how you practice, and I think both of these teams are great examples of that.
Bryant, play action. Back to throw, has some time, throws it out. Tomlinson dropped it at the 38-yard line. Coverage by Manny Collins on the play. Tomlinson would have had another first down, and a good ball by Jared Bryant with his first pass of the day. Bryant, who got in a year ago against Colorado State in the Poinsettia.
Tomlinson working up top here, does a nice job, just turns around the defender, Manny Collins, and breaks to the inside. But when Coach Johnson shows the film to these players, obviously Rutgers was the better football team. They played better, but there were plays that were to be made that weren't made in this game. Remember the pass to Reggie Campbell, got a hand on the ball, could have been a touchdown. Another play right there, dropped balls, just didn't play very well, never got into a sync offensively. Obviously, you lose your senior and your quarterback in Brian Hampton. That certainly affects your team.
Adam Ballard on the carry right there. Rutgers piling up some season best numbers here on this Saturday afternoon. And as we mentioned, it's really the birth of Mike Teel at quarterback. Their best day from a passing standpoint, certainly here today.
Take a look at these numbers, and the sacks are awfully impressive. Coming into this game, 2.4, 7 sacks already in this game, and Rutgers have really put it together defensively. And Greg Schiano's really been the architect of that defense the last 2 years. He took safeties, moved them to linebacker, took linebackers, moved them to defensive line. William Beckford, 6'1", 230. These are smallish guys on defense, but they sure can fly.
I'll have a staggering number for you when we come back. 11:13 to go in the fourth. Rutgers 27, Navy nothing on CSTV. 7-0, Rutgers with the lead. Let's throw it downstairs to the Missouri Tiger, Tom Hart.
All right, thank you very much, Pete. You talk a lot about how these midshipmen are very well-rounded individuals. Jason Tomlinson is no exception. He's an accomplished artist. Now, he spent a lot of his time in high school coming off the field and then going into his room, and he started doing sketches of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, obviously, that has been extended. So the sketches that he has done are very talented and also very personal in some very ways. We close with a look at the would-be architect and his look at Bancroft Hall and inside Bancroft Hall. Now, guys, I want to tell you something. You don't know this, but I was the last one to leave the hotel today. I broke into Trev's room. Here's Trev's artist work, his self-portrait that was sitting on his dresser. Trev, explain yourself.
Nice nose, Tom. It's not really that crooked.
Little Big 12 rivalry. It's a fake punt. Joe Silk will make it. Rob Caldwell up the middle. And Caldwell runs for a Navy first down. Their biggest offensive play of the day to the Rutgers 46. And look at Rob Caldwell showing the athleticism. The linebacker, Trev.
Terrific day all day by Rob Caldwell, but an offense that's averaging less than 2 yards a carry. You fake the fact that the ball flies over the punter's head, and Caldwell gets the ball and shows the athleticism and gets up for a first down for Navy.
You wanted to know what Trev Alberts looked like at the Indianapolis Combine before the NFL Draft? That was it right there.
Actually, Tom Hart would say I look like the picture he drew. It's obviously a Tom Hart production.
Jared Bryant rolling to his left, flag down under pressure, throws it out, and it's caught by Tomlinson, the aforementioned artist, but a quick flag from the referee. This is likely to come back.
Nickel shift on the offense. 2 players moved at the same time. Number 22, 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
2 players moved at the same time. They only called one number, Ballard, but Tell you, in just this short time, Jared Bryant, the youngster out of the great program down at Hoover, showing us a lot right now.
Yeah, I like his athletic ability. I like his arm, and it's early. He hasn't played a lot, so the decision-making is probably the issue for him right now in terms of getting some experience. But this is sort of a microcosm of the game for Navy. They get a little bit going, and then they'll have a huge penalty that sets them back. And obviously the way this offense is built, finding themselves in first or second and long, third and long, not what they want to do. So key penalties. They haven't had a lot of penalties, but their penalties have been at crucial times.
Navy's fourth of the day. Here's Bryant, back to throw. Standing in there, lobs across and had Sean White, who can't handle the pass at the 43-yard line.
See, once again that time, Jared Bryant does a nice job. The play develops. The offensive line gives him time. Goes right through Sean White's hands. He sits back there. It's it's a little bit high, but that's a ball that you got to catch. And that's sort of been the day for this Navy offense. It's been Reggie Campbell in the middle of the field, gets a hand of the ball, can't bring it in. So close to making plays, but this offense simply hasn't gotten it done, and Navy, of course, with 28 yards passing.
Play action, the screen out here to Campbell. Reggie, though, with no running room. Quick close on the play by DeVron Thompson, and it'll be a loss of yardage, bring up third down at about 17.
Boy, can DeVron Thompson close. I mean, these linebackers, some of these guys who played safety in high school, they bring those natural instincts and abilities that when they played safety now to the linebacker position, and so you see them in pass coverage do such a good job of reading that screen and getting out there, flowing to the football, and making a terrific tackle in the backfield.
And Trev, that's a tremendous credit to Greg Shannon and his staff to identify athletes and identify players and get them in positions where they can be most effective. Bryant will roll out to the left side here, looking to throw. Throws the out route, has a man, but it just out of the outstretched arms of Tyree Barnes on the far side of the field.
I think you can see when when Jared Bryant is full-time the quarterback of this offense, I think this offense will open up more. I think he has an ability to throw. There are some fundamental issues that he needs to continue to work on, but his footwork seems pretty good. Obviously they're throwing because they're trying to get back in this ball game, but they continue to run the option, do the things that they do. But this Bryant has a nice arm, and I think he'll be a much better passer in the future for this offense.
Greg Vittetto's 10th punt of the day, caught by Foster with a fair catch at the 22-yard line for the Scarlet Knights with 9:39 to go here in the fourth quarter. Let's take a look at the bottom side of the top 25. Virginia Tech, of course, lost to Tom O'Brien's Boston College Eagles. We saw Coach O'Brien up here earlier. Oklahoma with a win over Iowa State today, 34-9. And Wisconsin doing a very quiet job there, moving into the top 25, and they beat Minnesota today very handily, 48-12.
Be interesting to see what the pollsters think about this Rutgers team after this win here against Navy. It's so interesting, and as Ray Rice gets loose a little bit, gets up into the second level, Pete, but I think a lot of people are waiting for Rutgers next week on the road at Pittsburgh. I think Dave Wanstead's done such a nice job with his ball club, again, another big win the other night, and then Louisville and West Virginia. Until Rutgers beats Louisville and West Virginia, those type of teams, I think they're still going to be down there a little bit in terms of the ranking. And see, we talk about Ray Rice, that little crease, all he needs, the patience. And, Shiano talked about those wide receivers, how they don't have any patience. And he says Ray Rice came in and understood fundamentally the idea of being patient, waiting for the seam, and then bursting through.
First down play coming up. Rice on the carry. Bounces it out to the right side. Runs through Buffin's tackle across the 40. Midfield, Miles going to run him out of bounds, but not before he gets to the Navy 45-yard line. Cameron Stevenson, Jeremy Zuda doing a great job on that right side of the offensive line. And the vision by Rice, Trev. Initially as he comes up, bounces it. Boom.
Comes back to the outside right there. Again, you mentioned the vision, but again, breaks another tackle right there. He's a powerful runner at 5'9", but again, patient, waiting for the hole to develop, and then gets to burst to the outside, and a nice block on the outside by Tiquan Underwood.
Center Darnell Stapleton also with a great block on the play. First and 10 at the 45. Teel gives to Rice. Leonard with a great block on the outside to open up the play for him. He'll gain 3 down to make it 4 now, down to the 41-yard line. Brings up 2nd down and 6 for the Scarlet Knights.
I don't know, Pete, you've seen some of these other teams in college football. We watched Virginia Tech, and maybe they were a little bit overrated, obviously, with their 2 losses now. But how do you think this Rutgers team, you know, when you look in terms of the schedule and all they have coming up, but if you look at college football, where do they fit? I mean, this is a legitimate top 20 team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like what I see. And again, the dominance in the special teams category today, they get that kind of special teams play, you know, that makes a big, big difference. Rice with a gaping hole, flag down on the left side here. That flag came pretty quickly. Pedro Sosa perhaps guilty of a holding call.
Typically, Pete, the last things to develop in terms of a program and a team are the offense and defensive lines. And I think the difference between Rutgers, where they are today, and where they were a couple years ago. I mean, they beat a Michigan State team 2 years ago, and then the following week they lose to Division I AA New Hampshire. So, I mean, I think they've made the progress on the offensive line. This is a veteran group, a very talented group, as we get the call here.
Personal foul on the offense, number 77. 15-yard penalty from the previous line of scrimmage. Replay 2nd down.
And that's on Pedro Sosa, but he was mentioning Cameron Stevenson. I mean, Cameron Stevenson was originally a signee with the University of Oregon. And so this was a football player, obviously with an awful lot of ability, and he played defensive line, comes over to offensive guard, and Schiano says, look, this kid's going to play in the National Football League. I mean, he's a very talented player at 6'5", 305. So they have the offensive line. Obviously, they have the running backs, but I think defensively, they're just finally getting to where they need to be. He says, we established the speed and the aggressiveness in terms of getting to the football. He says, can you imagine when we get big guys who are also fast and aggressive, then you have a Miami Hurricane defense.
Ironically, you mentioned Stevenson. He's one of 2 guys on the roster from California. Jonathan Pierre-Etienne is from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Everybody else is from either New Jersey, New York, or Florida. Here's Teel, back to throw. Looking to screen it out, and he throws it over the head of Ray Rice. It'll bring up a 3rd down and 21.
Schiano keeps talking. You know, his mantra is always chop wood. You just keep chopping wood. So, okay, apparently they chopped wood all afternoon here. And, you know, he makes these personalized DVDs of the players' plays. You know, I think he finally gets these guys to understand the commitment and discipline that it takes to be successful at a big-time program. I mean, it was a mess when he walked into Rutgers. I mean, it was absolutely at the bottom. The administration believed in him. He said he interviewed them actually for that job. Are you really committed to making this thing right? And said he realized that if he gets this thing going, there's enough talent just in metropolitan New Jersey, New York. He will never have to get on a plane. There's enough talent right there to compete for championships.
Teel slides down at his own 47, gain of a couple, and he'll bring up a punt here for Scarlet Knights. And, you know, you talk to Greg Schiano. I mean, he's not one of those guys, not going to be real vocal, not going to be a guy that's you see out there, as we say, there's some coaches out there that certainly like to fill the quote book. Schiano, just a mild-mannered guy, likes to go about his work and trying to get that work. Like you mentioned, the chopping wood analogy is perfect. Just wants his guys to understand that how hard you have to work to compete at college football at this level now. Radigan on the punt. A super boot. Tomlinson will fair catch it at the 8-yard line. Timeout on the field. 7 minutes and 4 seconds to go, 4th quarter. Rutgers in charge in Annapolis on CSTV.
It's too small, car's too small.
Autoclaustrophobia. It's taken a devastating toll, but its days are numbered, thanks to the all-new Nissan Versa. Versa treats small car symptoms with best-in-class interior space.
Now this is roomy.
Versa lets you be carefree and hands-free with Bluetooth technology.
I like that.
Versa will help you take control of autoclaustrophobia today. Ask your Nissan.
We are back in Annapolis. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights have come to town, and they have been all business on this business trip. 27-0 in charge from the get-go here this afternoon. Navy will take over. First down of the 8. Mids jump early, and they will be penalized for the 5th time today. Looked like Big Ben Gabbard that time, moving early. The local product out of Broadneck High School. Played his high school ball for Jeff Herrick.
Ball start on the offense. Number 74. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
There you see Big Ben, one of Navy's local products. 6'4", 300-pounder. High school is about 10 minutes up the road.
And you know, Pete, when you're 300 pounds and you start moving, it's really hard to stop that 300 pounds.
And you're not hard to miss. Not hard to miss at that size. So it brings up first down and 15. Eric Katani into the ball game at the fullback spot. He ascended to the number 2 point on the depth chart at fullback this week for the midshipmen.
On the tackle, number 57,
Navy, the nation's #1 rushing team, Trev, and that number basically says all you need to know about this game here this afternoon.
Says it all. Talked about this Rutgers defense, their ability. I thought the defensive ends had a terrific game of crashing down. They forced the Navy quarterbacks to make quick decisions, but let's not forget that Brian Hampton didn't get to play much of this game. Much of what Paul Johnson would have liked to have done, maybe opening it up a little bit in the passing game, was really dictated by the fact that his quarterback got hurt. But this also is a story. This relentless speed of this Rutgers defense getting into the backfield. Again, now, this is the 7th sack of this defense today.
As they continue to rack up a season best, getting into the ball game now along that defensive front, Van Treese Studevant, sophomore out of Riviera Beach, Florida, and Suncoast High School at the bottom of the pile.
Here's Brian as he goes back, and immediately when he gets back, he starts shuffling his feet. So immediately he feels the pressure, no chance to even look down the field. This relentless defense, this front four of this Rutgers defense, just done a great job of getting in the backfield. Consistent pressure all day.
3rd and 16 from the 3. Bryant on the rollout, has a little bit of time, throws down the field, incomplete with a flag down on the play.
intended for number 89, Tommy Barnes on the right.
You're going to get a hold or maybe a cut block here, or chop block, I should say, because cut block is legal. And it's a chop block. Second one of the day called against Navy. Key here is the play was out in space, not within that 3-yard window at the line of scrimmage. One of the big linemen trying to get out and put some pressure on Bryant, and they chopped him down.
That's what happens sometimes for the offensive line when you're playing a defense that's so athletic and so fast. You find yourself getting outside and out of place.
Number 7.
Call it crackback block on Reggie Campbell.
The right side of your screen this time as he comes out to the outside. And there's the cut block on the outside. I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot there. There is that new rule once you get outside the box. You can't make a cut block when a player is indefensible. And so maybe the judgment call by the official that time was that he was in indefensible position.
Please put 5:17 on the clock.
Let's take a look at a couple of the big plays here in this game in the second half.
It was about the block punts. I mean, this Rutgers defense was playing so well, but again, right up the middle. Maybe didn't make the adjustment, just came right up the middle. 2 blocked punts really changed the momentum and the field position in the second half for Rutgers' offense.
Manny Collins got the first one, his second of the year, and then Glenn Lee followed up on the very next punt. So Viteto does the rugby punt again, gets it to Spiral, but Foster takes it at the 35, goes down at the Navy 28-yard line.
Foster returns to the 27-yard line of Navy.
So Navy in an opportunity to get away from the block punt, the pressure up the middle. They've gone to the rugby punt the last couple of times, and Viteto had been having a nice day punting the football. Obviously, Trev, when you go to that rugby punt, it takes a little bit away from your technique and your leg strength there.
Yeah, it's so concerned about that rush in the middle of the field that you try to get him away from pressure and just get the ball away, but low line drive, and here once again, field position, Rutgers. They've started at their own 43 and Navy their own 19. That's been a real story in this game in terms of where they've started with the football. And Rutgers has possessed the ball virtually the entire game.
Leonard leading the way for Rice. Rice trying to get outside, and Jeremy McGowan doing a nice job to run him out of bounds.
Pushed out of bounds by number 8, Jeremy McGowan.
He'll gain officially nothing. It'll be no gain. 2nd and 10 coming up as they spot the ball right on the 28-yard line. Strange game, though, Trev, because Rice picked up a number of these yards over the last couple of series, but he is closing in on 100 yards. But Rutgers only has 13 first downs in the ball game.
Now, they haven't dominated. They haven't really had to drive the football field. They've gotten the ball in such favorable field position, and so Teel's done a nice job in the middle of the field. But here late, they've went back to the run, established a little bit with Ray Rice.
High formation, 2nd down. Teel with play action, looking for Harris, and McGowan had it hit him right in the breadbasket. Incomplete pass there. Let's throw it downstairs to Tom Hart.
All right, guys, Rutgers doing a pretty good job on the ground today, and they got a big guy to run behind. Left guard Mike Fladell, not as big as he used to be. He came in at over 370 pounds, so big they never timed him in the 40, but he lost 50 pounds getting ready for this season. How'd he do it? Listen to this diet. For breakfast, 6 egg whites, cereal, water instead of orange juice, a banana, grapes, couple pieces of sausage. Lunch was a hamburger, grilled chicken, some fruit. Dinner, steak, a little bit of pasta, some more egg whites. Not sure how he did it. 50 pounds is a lot to take off. And with that kind of meal, those kind of meals, I'm not sure I would ever lose that kind of weight.
Teel on the draw play to Cordell Young.
Pete, let me tell you something. I
was
at dinner last night with Tom, and Tom eats all of that every day. So don't let him fool you. But he's sort of right. I mean, if I ate that much food, I wouldn't lose 50 pounds. I think I'd gain 50, which makes me wonder, what was Mike eating before he went to that diet?
Probably
5 pizzas?
A few cheeseburgers in paradise, a little late-night pizza. You know how college students are. A little late-night pizza never hurts. Pizza for breakfast.
Guys, he referred to himself as a big piece of mass. Now, he's a still big piece of mass, just not as big as he used to be.
4th down. Rutgers going to shun the field goal, obviously. No need for more points. Just going to give the ball off here to Cordell Young. Young with an opening up across the 15 to the 10, down to the 5, inside the 5, down to the 2-yard line. Another freshman, a youngster, Cordell Young, 5'9", 190-pounder out of Westville, New Jersey, and West Deptford High.
And running behind that left side of Mike Fladell. They do a nice job of collapsing that Navy defensive line all the way down, and Cordell Young with some nice little burst in speed. That's the thing about Rutgers. All of these young kids getting a little playing time. We've talked about this team. 58 of the current players on this team have 3 or more years of eligibility.
And right now, the fullback is a freshman, the tailback is a freshman, the quarterback's a sophomore. Here's Cordell Young up the middle. He's into the end zone for a touchdown. Ooh, baby, you better get the Scarlet Knights now because they are putting together a program for Greg Schiano.
Nothing fancy here. The offensive line, again, established, stands up the Navy defensive front. Young gets into the end zone for a touchdown. Pedro Sosa that time with a terrific block on the left tackle spot.
So the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, they're going to be playing in the postseason somewhere. Kick on the way by Ito, and it is good. 2 minutes, 37 seconds to go, and the Scarlet Knights by 34.
I think it's interesting we go back to Rutgers in the Big East, and remember when Virginia Tech, Boston College, Miami all left, and everybody said, wow, we've got to, they can't have an automatic BCS berth. No way. Look, the BCS is terrible. They have one team. Slowly take a step back and take a look at the Big East now. You see the resurgence of Rutgers. They haven't been any good since '76. That's been well chronicled here today. Dave Wanstead down at Pittsburgh has that program completely different. Tyler Palco is a different quarterback. You look at West Virginia in terms of what Rich Rodriguez has done. I mean, Bobby Petrino at Louisville, all he's done is lose 2 potential Heisman Trophy candidates, and yet they continue to average about 45 points a game. So the Big East is back. Don't forget about South Florida. I mean, Jim Leavitt's done a great job down there. So the Big East is back, and I don't know, there's a lot of teams across America that want to play a few of these teams out of the Big East.
Interesting game for Greg Schiano coming up next week at Pittsburgh. You mentioned Dave Wanstead doing a super job here this season because last year, obviously an adjustment period for a guy like Tyler Palco and the rest of the Panthers, but this year under Wanstead, they look like a completely different team, and Rutgers travels to Pittsburgh next week for another significant road test.
Significant test, and on the road, so difficult. And then later on, obviously Louisville and West Virginia, very difficult games, but I think you have to take your hat off, too, to the Rutgers administration. I mean, this was a program under Schiano. He had told them about all the stuff that was going to happen. He had them believing, and yet they start 3-20. And what do? They don't fire Greg Schiano. They actually give him a contract extension because they saw the work that he was doing, the new recruits that were coming in. Kids were actually going to class. They weren't flunking out of class, and so they could see the progress. I think that's a great lesson for people across the country. If you believe in your coach, you need to stay with him.
Jared Bryant brings them right to the line of scrimmage. Trying to get something going here for Navy. 1st and 10, 2:21 to go. Clock on the move. Bryant looking, waits in the pocket. Has a man out here on the near side. Turning up the right side of the field is Urban Singleton. And he'll have Navy's 9th first down of the day.
See, Pete, when you run into a team like Rutgers with all this speed, you have to have the ability at some points to throw the football. And Jared Bryant has been very impressive doing that so far today.
Geico, the proud sponsor of our 1st and 10 line here in today's game. Navy with that 1st and 10, starting right now at the 43-yard line. Bryant takes it, follows Ballard through the hole, gets about 4 up to the 47, maybe 5 to the 48. Jared Bryant got to play in the Poinsettia Bowl, Trev. Navy used 3 quarterbacks in that game. A great gesture by Paul Johnson because Jared's father unfortunately took ill last year, eventually passed away, but Coach Johnson put him into the ball game so his father could see him play in a Division I game before he passed on. A tremendous gesture by Paul Johnson, and Bryant took Navy, ironically, right down the field before firing an interception at the goal line.
Well, I think I've seen this offense be energized with Bryant in there. There's been a couple passes. That wasn't a great example as he falls down there. But, I mean, he's actually done a fairly good job of directing this offense. Now, certainly there are some backups in terms of Rutgers defensively here. But I think long-term, Jared Bryant's going to be a very effective quarterback in this offense.
Navy right now being shut out with 1:35 to go in the 4th quarter. Last time they were shut out, it was cold, it was raining, it was a monsoon. Terry Cawley ran for about 1.5 miles for Connecticut, and they won 38-0.
Let me guess, Pete, you were there.
I did that game. It was a very sloppy track. And Navy moves again on the offensive front. Anthony Gaskins, the sophomore, up front moving. Midshipman
on the offense.
With no push-ups today, Trev.
5-yard penalty.
That's a rare feat here on Saturday afternoons.
And get themselves rested, but I'm not sure about next week for those guys either. We'll see what happens, obviously, after this game. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are the opponent for Navy, and as you see the penalties there, that's just, I mean, Paul Johnson teaches discipline. Everything about his team, his program, his offense, and 6 penalties. And like I said, not a ton of penalties, but in inopportune times it's happened to his team.
Bryant under pressure and underthrows Ballard. He had no chance that time. His pressure was coming immediately. Take a look ahead for the midshipmen. As you mentioned, Trev, Notre Dame in Baltimore in 2 weeks, as Navy will have a bye week to prepare. But those last 4 games for Navy, certainly winnable football games, probably going to be favored big in all of them. And obviously, you know, a chance for them still to get bowl eligible, head to the Meineke Car Care Bowl and participate in another postseason here. And the one thing I think that last graphic shows about the shutout against UConn, it shows you that this type of performance doesn't happen around at Navy very much. And certainly you would expect Paul Johnson and his crew to be ready for the Fighting Irish on the 28th.
Oh, yeah, and they've actually played very well against Notre Dame. They've done a great job against Notre Dame. But I think you look at them, obviously they lost to Tulsa the last game I did here in overtime on the last play. So they lose here to Rutgers. So really, to me, I pointed out Notre Dame there because I think they'll win all those other games. The Notre Dame game's a difficult game, but at worst, this looks to me like a 9-3 football team.
Folks, want to remind you to stay with us on CSTV. More college football coming your way tonight. 7:30 Eastern time. We go down to the Lone Star State. The Blazers of UAB visiting Rice in a Conference USA battle for respect. Stay tuned tonight for more great football on CSTV. Football is a way of life. Live it with CSTV. There a case there where Todd Graham has to do the same thing at Rice that Greg Schiano and Paul Johnson have done with these 2 programs. Virtually from the ground up now, new system, and try to revitalize that Rice Owls program.
And he's fighting against, the University of Houston. Art Briles has done such a nice job there. It's not a lot unlike what Schiano had to do at Rutgers in the sense that all the good Jersey kids would always go to Syracuse over Rutgers. So he had to convince a few of them. And, as he told us yesterday, getting a guy like Clark Harris. Clark Harris could have went anywhere. and yet he chose Rutgers, chose to stay home, and he's being rewarded right now with a team that's going to be 6-0.
4th down and 11 for Navy. Bryant back to throw. Has a little bit of time. Loaded up for Barnes, and it's knocked down in the secondary. Glenn Lee providing the coverage there. And Navy turns the football over on downs.
See Bryant back there this time, just throws it and really throws into double coverage, doesn't get there in time, and Lee's standing in front of the wide receiver, and actually does a nice job of breaking up the interception.
There you see Greg Schiano with a big smile, and got to be real proud of his team's effort here today.
I think Greg Schiano was legitimately concerned about this football game. You could just sense it. He realized, Navy is a difficult team to play in terms of being disciplined. You're playing their game. You're on their field. It's homecoming here. And so to come into this place, irregardless of the fact that you lose Brian Hampton, 34-0, a very impressive performance by Rutgers.
Well, you know, Trev, too. I mean, you look at their schedule. South Florida was a pretty stiff test on the road. You would have thought earlier in the season, North Carolina, a pretty stiff test. But until you face somebody who is playing good football as well, you really don't know how good you are. And I think this answers the question for Greg Schiano, and most notably, a lot of those critics of Rutgers in the Big East.
Yeah, I think there'll still be people out there saying, well, it was Navy. But I think we understand, if you watch Navy, how good. I think a lot of Tulsa. I mean, I think Steve Craigthorpe's team is a very good team. And so only losing by 1 in overtime, I knew how good Navy was. And so obviously coming in here 34-0, very impressive. And now on the road next week at Pittsburgh, again, Schiano keeps talking about they're just chopping wood. And they've been chopping now for 6 weeks, and they're 6-0.
Rutgers will hold Navy to just over 2 yards per carry today. They'll come over and share a handshake with Paul Johnson. And Greg Schiano's team, bowl eligible for a second consecutive season. 1976, the last year, the Scarlet Knights went 6-0 to start a campaign. Ironically enough, as we mentioned in our trivia portion earlier, they did not go to a bowl game that year. There's no question that the Scarlet Knights will be headed bowling somewhere this season.
So, Pete, I don't know if you're Paul Johnson with your team, you go back to the drawing board again, and I think the disappointing thing for him was he really felt like the last 2 games his team played the best football it had all season long. UConn on the road, and then again against Air Force. They had really kind of come together here at homecoming, playing against a ranked team. They hadn't beat a ranked team at home since 1984, and then he loses his starting quarterback. And so I think these coaches go back and they watch this film, they'll realize that although they got shut out, this defense of Rutgers played so well, yet there were plays out on the field that had they been made, 2 or 3 really big plays, this might have changed the complexion of this game.
Well, and that's what it would have done. It would have given the opportunity to change the complexion of the game, keep the game closer, and obviously the 2 block punts really changed the momentum of the game, gave Rutgers a short field and 10 quick points in the second half to help blow this game open. Standing by for the alma maters of the 2 schools.
One of the more interesting things as the Naval Academy players actually go over to the Rutgers side, stand only 10 to 15 yards behind the Rutgers players, and watch as they play their alma mater. I just think it's one of the better scenes in college football. We talk so much about sportsmanship, and this is a great example of sportsmanship right here. Both teams understanding it was a good football game, hard fought, and it was played on the field.
And then the 2 teams will come over to the near side and share a Navy alma mater. And I think, too, Trev, the surprising thing is we were talking about, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised Rutgers won the game, but the dominating fashion in which they did it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one thing across the country when people see these highlights and they see all of the things in terms of the statistics. They're going to be so impressed with this Rutgers team in terms of, you mentioned, holding them under 2 yards to carry was phenomenal.
The playing of the Navy alma mater, the blue and gold, 34-0. Scarlet Knights win it. We'll come back with more in a moment on CSTV.
The new car, 180
Football Nation, Rutgers versus Navy, has been brought to you by the U.S. Navy. Navy, accelerate your life. And by Sirius Satellite Radio. Hear the sports, talk, news, entertainment, and 100% commercial-free music you want. Sirius Satellite Radio, the best radio on radio. Back in Annapolis, Rutgers wins it here by a score of 34-0. Easily handling the midshipmen on this Saturday afternoon. Downstairs to Tom Hart with Greg Schiano.
All right, thank you very much, Pete. Coach, you mentioned that the Navy is a very tough team to prepare for. You got an extra week. Obviously saw something in their punts. That was a turning point in the game, getting those 2 block punts.
Well, the kids did a great job, and the coaches figured out a way to get there, and the kids executed it, and that's what it's about.
6-0, bowl eligible once again. You also, in discussing preparation, said that sometimes Navy can beat you the week after. How do you avoid that against Pittsburgh?
Well, we go right back to work on the bus ride home, and our kids get in the training room and get well, and we start preparation for Pitt right now.
Coach, thanks for your time. 3.5-hour bus ride will certainly be a lot more enjoyable this time than it was last time they visited. Pete?
All right, Tom. Time now to take a look at our serious players of the game today, Trev. The Rutgers defense with a dominating effort, 160 yards of total offense and 8 sacks.
Right here, Jamal Westerman comes in. Couldn't really identify just one guy because all 11 guys consistently getting to the football, making sack after sack. 161 yards of total offense, averaging 2.4 yards per play.
Dominating offense today. The nation's #1 rushing attack held to just 113 yards, Trev. That's just over 2 yards a carry. Navy tried to run the ball 50 times today and just 113 yards to show for it.
And just too much speed. You see right there, William Beckford at defensive end. I think they had a great plan coming in. They had the defensive ends crashing down, hitting the quarterback, forcing those quarterbacks to make initial decisions, and then they did a great job against Adam Ballard, shutting down the fullback.
Record crowd exits here on this Saturday afternoon. Final score, Rutgers 34, Navy 0. For more, log on to CSTV.com, the ultimate destination for scores, news, highlights, and analysis. This has been a presentation of CSTV, College Sports Television, the 24-hour college sports network from CBS Sports. For Trev Alberts, Tom Hart, and our entire CSTV crew, I'm Pete Medhurst. Now, let's go to the Field House in New York for Game Tracker Live.
And welcome inside the Field House for Game Tracker Live. Adam